Chapter 392. Emo Tianhun also had a treasure weapon. Looking at the evil-slaying sword in Emo Qingyun's hand, the people around the storm platform were immediately shocked. They did not expect that Emo Qingyun would also have a treasure weapon in his hand. In this way, Sun Quan would not be able to gain the slightest advantage in the following exchange. You also have a treasure weapon. Seeing the evil-slaying sword in Emo Qingyun's hand, Sun Quan was also surprised and his face was gloomy to the extreme. Just now, he said that Emo Qingyun did not have a treasure weapon, but in the blink of an eye, Emo Qingyun took out a treasure weapon long sword. This was simply a slap in the face. Humph! Even if you also have a treasure weapon, you will lose today without a doubt. Sun Quan snorted coldly, said a gloomy sentence, and attacked Emo Qingyun. Heavenly Eagle Blood Demon Claw. Sun Quan clawed out, and a terrifying wave of yuan power erupted from his palm, turning into a huge blood-red eagle shadow. As soon as this eagle shadow appeared, it emitted a terrifying aura, like a sky overlord, and swooped down towards Emo Qingyun. Chirp! After the eagle's cry, the huge eagle shadow in midair turned into a blood-red streamer and attacked Emo Qingyun at extreme speed. As the eagle shadow swooped down, it immediately stirred up a shocking storm, which swept wildly towards the storm platform. Under the impact of this storm, some of the surrounding disciples with weaker cultivation were immediately blown back. Mysterious underworld Nether Slayer, facing Sun Quan's attack, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate at all and immediately slashed at the eagle shadow. Under Emo Qingyun's sword, a violent wave of yuan power erupted from the evil-slaying sword, turning into an icy blue sword ray that blasted towards the eagle shadow. As soon as the icy blue sword ray came out, ice immediately condensed wherever it passed, emitting a terrifying chill. Bang! When the eagle shadow and the sword ray collided, there was immediately a loud sound, and a terrifying yuan power storm erupted from it. At the same time, the sword beam and the condor shadow fell into a stalemate, unable to advance an inch. When he saw this, a cold smile appeared on Sun Quan's face. He looked at Emo Qingyun and said coldly, "Emo Tianhun, you are no match for me. Admit defeat." As soon as Sun Quan finished speaking, his demonic blood parasite condor's claws glowed with a bloody light. Then, a huge blood-red condor shadow flew out from the demonic blood curse condor's claws and quickly merged with the giant condor in the air. As the blood-red condor shadow merged with the condor shadow in the air, the aura of the condor shadow instantly soared, reaching an unprecedented level. Sun Quan actually activated the artifact's secret technique. After seeing this scene, the expressions of the surrounding people suddenly changed, revealing a look of shock. Crack, crack, crack. As the condor's aura grew stronger, tiny cracks began to appear on the ice-blue sword aura that was resisting it. In the blink of an eye, the ice-blue sword aura was covered with tiny cracks like a spider web, as if it would shatter at any time. Seeing this, Sun Quan revealed a smug look and said proudly, "Emo Tianhun, now do you still think you have the ability to defeat me?" "Sun Quan, it's too early for you to be happy. You are not the only one with a trump card." Emo Qingyun revealed a faint smile. Then, he no longer held back and directly released the perfect water ultimacy. Immediately, the aura of Emo Qingyun's body became fierce, emitting a terrifying chill. With the support of the perfect water ultimacy, the shattered ice-blue sword ray in the air quickly recovered. In a short while, the shattered ice-blue sword ray was restored to its original state, and its aura was much stronger than before. Feeling the perfect water ultimacy on Emo Qingyun, the crowd's expressions changed drastically. They looked at Emo Qingyun in disbelief. Perfect water ultimacy. Emo Qingyun's water ultimacy had reached the perfect realm. A person with a cultivation of LV4 Yuan Dan had comprehended the perfect water ultimacy. This news was too shocking. Tianhun's water ultimacy is not at LV8, but at the perfect realm. This guy hid it really well. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Elder Xian Shan's face was immediately filled with surprise and excitement. He did not expect Mo Qingyun to have such a hidden card. This scene surprised him. It seems that we have all underestimated this guy. Xian Qiming and the others were also shocked. They shook their heads and smiled bitterly. However, at this time, when the crowd was shocked by Mo Qingyun's performance, Mo Qingyun, who was on the storm platform, suddenly stood up and his aura soared. In an instant, he reached the peak of LV5 Yuan Dan realm. Peak of LV5 Yuan Dan realm. Feeling the change in Mo Qingyun's soda, the crowd's expression changed again and they became excited. Peak of LV5 Yuan Dan realm. This means that in the past 6 months, his cultivation has increased by 3 realms. Thinking of Mo Qingyun's actions in the past 6 months, Xian Shan's body trembled. He was so excited that he could not help but tear up. It was his great fortune to have such a disciple. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's performance had completely exceeded his expectations and brought him surprises again and again. Disciple Xian Shan is really lucky to have such a disciple. At this time, Xian Qiming and the others could not help but express their envy. On the storm platform, break! As soon as he removed the seal on his cultivation, Mo Qingyun shouted coldly and attacked Sun Quan. Immediately, the aura of the ice-blue sword radiance soared and became several times sharper. Bang bang bang, then, under the impact of the ice-blue sword radiance, the giant eagle shadow was instantly defeated and dissipated. Puff! After the giant eagle shadow was defeated, Sun Quan, who was connected to it, immediately spat out blood and his face turned pale. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun did not continue to attack. He looked at Sun Quan coldly and said, "Sun Quan, you've lost." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the crowd's expression changed and they could not help but sigh. Sun Quan, who was a LV8 Yuan Dan, fought against Mo Qingyun, who was a LV4 Yuan Dan, but he still lost in the end. Of course, what shocked everyone the most was that Mo Qingyun had shown his amazing trump card again and turned the situation around. Humph! Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Sun Quan's face darkened and he walked down the storm platform with a snort. Big brother, he lost. Seeing the result before him, Sun Yi's expression immediately became sluggish. He couldn't believe that this was real. His genius big brother was defeated by Mo Qingyun. This was really hard for him to accept. At this moment, when Sun Quan was about to leave, Mo Qingyun smiled and said to Sun Quan, "Wait, leave the sect points before you go." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Sun Quan's expression turned even uglier. He said coldly, "Don't worry, I won't shortchange you of the sect points. I'll transfer them to you when I return to the Chore Hall." As soon as Sun Quan finished speaking, he walked out of the storm platform, unwilling to stay any longer. At this moment, when Sun Quan was about to leave. Chapter 393. The number 1 disciple of Babing Peak's Yuan Dan realm, Luo Weibai. Everyone was stunned when they recognized this person. They were a little surprised by his actions. Everyone knew that Babing Peak and Rolling Curtain Peak were competitors and did not get along well with each other. Therefore, from Luo Weibai's actions, he was most likely looking for trouble. Then, everyone looked at Mo Qingyun curiously, wanting to see how Mo Qingyun would respond. Accept or reject. At this moment, everyone was waiting expectantly for Mo Qingyun's response. Mo Qingyun's face was indifferent. He glanced at Luo Weibai and said calmly, "How do you want to compete? How about this? I will also use 25,000 sect points as the wager to fight with you. How about that?" Seeing that Mo Qingyun was willing to fight, Luo Weibai immediately smiled evilly. He looked at Mo Qingyun and said coldly, "As for the rules of the battle, it will be the same as the battle between you and Sun Quan. Whoever wins will get the sect points. How about that?" Hearing Luo Weibai's words, Mo Qingyun's expression changed and showed a hint of joy. He smiled and said, Okay, I accept your challenge. Junior brother, you are indeed straightforward. Seeing that Emo Qingyun had accepted his challenge, the cold smile on Luo Weibai's face became even more obvious. It was as if his evil plan had succeeded. Then, Luo Weibai did not hesitate and jumped onto the storm platform. He looked at Emo Qingyun and said with a smile, "To prevent others from saying that I am bullying you because of my higher cultivation, I will let you make the first move. This way we will have a fair battle." A fair battle? Hearing Luo Weibai's words, the surrounding people looked at him with disdain. They despised him to the extreme. Everyone was talking about people like Luo Weibai, who wanted to be a prostitute but still wanted to maintain her chastity. Tianhun, your battle with Sun Quan just now consumed quite a bit of your energy. It's not suitable for you to fight again today. Just as Luo Weibai and Emo Qingyun were about to fight, Xian Shan warned Emo Qingyun with a solemn expression. "Thank you for your concern, master. I'm fine." Hearing Xian Shan's words, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and said some words of comfort to him. Emo Qingyun knew what Xian Shan was thinking. Xian Shan was worried that he wouldn't be able to defeat Luo Weibai and would be injured in the upcoming battle. But, hearing Emo Qingyun's response, Xian Shan immediately frowned and wanted to persuade Emo Qingyun again. However, just as Xian Shan was about to speak, one of the disciples of Rolling Curtain Peak jumped up and quickly arrived on the storm platform. This person arrived on the storm platform and looked at Luo Weibai with a cold and arrogant expression. He said disdainfully, "Luo Weibai, as the #1 disciple of Babing Peak in the Yuan Dan stage, you want to challenge a 5th stage Yuan Dan stage disciple of Rolling Curtain Peak. Isn't that a bit too shameless?" Shameless? Hearing the other party's words, Luo Weibai didn't care at all. He still had a faint smile on his face. "I just saw that this disciple's strength is not bad and wanted to exchange pointers with him. If the people of Rolling Curtain Peak are all cowards, you can refuse my challenge." Humph! Hearing Luo Weibai's response, Xian Qianyuan immediately snorted and said in a cold voice, "Since you want to represent Babing Peak in challenging my Rolling Curtain Peak, as the #1 disciple of Rolling Curtain Peak in the Yuan Dan stage, I will fight with you. Alright, I'll warm up with you first. It won't be too late to fight with that disciple." Hearing Xian Qianyuan's words, Luo Weibai immediately sneered. "This way, I'll have experienced a battle later. When I fight with that disciple, no one will say that it's unfair." "Humph! You can say that after you defeat me." Hearing Luo Weibai's contemptuous words, Xian Qianyuan's face turned ugly and he said some words of displeasure. At this moment, when Xian Qianyuan was about to make a move, Luo Weibai revealed a cold smile and said, "How about we also make a bet? Otherwise, it's too boring for us to make a move like this." Hearing Luo Weibai's words, Xian Qianyuan's expression changed slightly. He pondered for a moment and said, "Okay. The rules are the same as what you said earlier." As soon as Xian Qianyuan finished speaking, he did not waste any more words and directly attacked Luo Weibai. Heavenly Pool Blue Ice Tiger, Soul Transformation. Xian Qianyuan did not hold back and directly summoned his martial spirit, instantly completing the soul transformation. Following which, Xian Qianyuan's body was covered in a layer of ice-blue tiger skin, emitting the ferocious might of an ice tiger. At this moment, Xian Qianyuan had not undergone a complete soul transformation. He had only undergone a half-soul transformation, so he had not completely transformed into a demon beast. After completing the soul transformation, Xian Qianyuan revealed a cold and arrogant expression and said to Luo Weibai, "Luo Weibai, you can undergo the soul transformation. High rank 12 martial spirit, Heavenly Pool Blue Ice Tiger martial spirit. It's a very good martial spirit." Sizing up Xian Qianyuan in front of him, Luo Weibai sneered and said disdainfully, "I don't need to summon my martial spirit to deal with you. Shameless boasting." Hearing Luo Weibai's contemptuous words, Xian Qinyuan's face immediately darkened. He held the long saber in his hand and slashed at Luo Weibai. Heavenly Sealing Ice Tiger Saber. Xian Qinyuan's saber slashed out, and the long saber in his hand instantly erupted with an astonishing amount of elemental energy, turning into a terrifying ice-blue saber light. As soon as this ice-blue saber light was blasted out, it was like an ice tiger rushing towards Luo Weibai. Under the charge of this ice tiger, the temperature on the storm platform immediately dropped. Bursts of wind and snow flew up, causing the surrounding people to unconsciously tremble. Senior Brother Qianyuan is so powerful. His profound rank high-rank martial arts secret manual, 5 styles heavenly sealing, has already been cultivated to the large success stage. With the power of Senior Brother Qianyuan's attack, even the experts of the Pill Palace will have to retreat. He will definitely be able to beat the guy from Babing Peak to the ground. For a moment, the disciples of the Rolling Curtain Peak were excited and said their own excited words. Insignificant skill. Seeing Xian Qinyuan's attack, Luo Weibai smiled disdainfully and sneered, "Since that's the case, I'll play with you as a warm-up. The 5 styles heavenly sealing is not used like that." As soon as Luo Weibai's words fell, his body moved. He turned his hand into a saber and faced the ice tiger saber light. Then, everyone saw Luo Weibai's figure turn into an ice tiger saber light and faced the ice tiger saber light that was blasted out by Xian Qianyuan. Bang! A loud sound rang out. Then, everyone saw that Xian Qianyuan's attack was defeated. After defeating Xian Qianyuan's attack, Luo Weibai's attack did not decrease. He quickly arrived in front of Xian Qianyuan and attacked him. Facing Luo Weibai's attack, Xian Qianyuan did not dare to hesitate and immediately raised his hand to block. Bang! Just as Xian Qianyuan's fist touched Luo Weibai's fist, he felt a terrifying force. Ka. Under this force, the bones in his fist were instantly shattered, and a crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard. Half-step Pill Palace. After discovering this, Xian Qinyuan's expression immediately shook and he said a shocking sentence. Bang bang bang. At this moment, while Xian Qinyuan's face was filled with shock, Luo Weibai's movements did not stop. He continuously punched Xian Qinyuan's body. Puff! Under Luo Weibai's punches, Xian Qinyuan was immediately sent flying. He fell to the ground and vomited blood. His face was pale and his aura was weak. Can't even withstand a single blow. Chapter 394. Haha, well said, Weibai. Just as Luo Weibai finished speaking, a burst of arrogant laughter came from afar. Then, the crowd saw several figures flying toward the storm platform at high speed. Soon, these figures came to Luo Weibai's side. They were the elders of Babing Peak. Weibai greets the elders. Looking at the few people who came to his side, Luo Weibai bowed respectfully to them. Luo Renji, what is the meaning of you coming to my Rolling Curtain Peak? Xian Kuan's face was gloomy and cold as he looked at the several elders of the dominating ice peak. Xian Shan and the others also looked furious when they heard Xian Kuan's angry words. They glared at the elders of the dominating ice peak. Nothing. We just want the disciples of Babing Peak to go back so that they won't be affected by some trash. Luo Renji responded to Xian Kuan's angry words with a faint smile. Then, he looked at the disciples of Babing Peak and said, Disciples of Babing Peak, return to Babing Peak immediately. Don't go to the peaks that raise trash in the future, understand? Yes. Hearing Luo Renji's words, the disciples of Babing Peak immediately nodded in response and got up to return to Babing Peak. At this moment, when Luo Weibai returned to Babing Peak, he looked at Xian Qianyuan with a cold smile and said proudly, Xian Qianyuan, don't forget the 25,000 sect points that you lost to me. Don't worry, I won't shortchange you. Hearing Luo Weibai's words, Xian Qianyuan snorted and replied coldly, That's for the best. Hearing Xian Qianyuan's words, Luo Weibai immediately smiled proudly and turned to return to Babing Peak. At this moment, when Luo Weibai was about to leave, Mo Qingyun said coldly to him, "Luo Weibai, didn't you want to fight with me? Why are you retreating without a fight?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the surrounding people's expressions changed as they looked at Mo Qingyun in surprise. Originally, they thought that Mo Qingyun should be secretly happy that he could avoid a fight with Luo Weibai. But now? Not only did Mo Qingyun not rejoice, on the contrary, he even provoked Luo Weibai and took the initiative to challenge Luo Weibai. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's actions had surprised them. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, the elders of Babing Peak immediately looked at Mo Qingyun in surprise. 5th level Yuan Dan. Sizing up Mo Qingyun, the surprise on Luo Renji's face deepened. He looked at Luo Weibai and asked, "Weibai, what's going on?" "Elder, it's like this." Subsequently, Luo Weibai revealed a respectful expression and explained the whole story to Luo Renji and the others. "So that's how it is. Weibai, as a senior brother, you should indeed guide the junior brothers, especially the junior brothers at Trash Peak." After hearing Luo Weibai's words, Luo Renji mocked and said to Luo Weibai, "Since this junior brother took the initiative to ask for guidance from you, you should guide him properly. Let him understand some principles of being a person other than cultivation." At this moment, Luo Renji's face was filled with a gloomy smile as he spoke, and his tone was extremely cold. Obviously, the true meaning of his words was not what he said on the surface, which was to ask Luo Weibai to guide Mo Qingyun. "Yes, I understand." Hearing Luo Renji's words, Luo Weibai immediately sneered and nodded in response. "Junior brother, you should have heard Elder Renji's words very clearly, right?" Immediately after, Luo Weibai returned to the storm platform and looked at Mo Qingyun with a cold smile. "Don't worry, when we fight later, I, as your senior brother, will guide you in all aspects." "In that case, thank you very much, senior brother." Hearing Luo Weibai's words, a faint smile appeared on Mo Qingyun's face. He replied to Luo Weibai and said, "If that's the case, can we increase the stakes for our competition?" "Tianhun, don't be reckless." At this moment, when Mo Qingyun spoke, Xian Shan revealed a dignified expression and reminded Mo Qingyun, "Master, don't worry. It's rare that a senior brother from Babing Peak is willing to guide me. How can I miss this opportunity?" In response to Xian Shan's worries, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and replied, "Moreover, there are so many elders here. Will there be any danger when I fight with senior brother Luo?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xian Shan and the rest frowned. They felt that Mo Qingyun's words made sense. With so many Heaven Star Border Realm experts here, Mo Qingyun and Luo Weibai, who were both in the Yuan Dan realm, would not have any problems fighting. Immediately, Xian Shan did not say anything more. He nodded at Mo Qingyun and reminded him, "In that case, you have to be careful. Just do what you can." "Yes." Mo Qingyun nodded. "Increase the stakes?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's suggestion, Luo Weibai's expression immediately changed. He revealed a cold smile and said to Mo Qingyun, "Junior brother, since you want to increase the stakes, how about this? Just now, you and I both won 25,000 sect points. Next, let's bet 50,000 sect points. What do you think?" "Okay, I'll do as senior brother says." Hearing Luo Weibai's words, Mo Qingyun's face immediately lit up and he agreed without hesitation. If he could win Luo Weibai's 50,000 sect points, he would have 100,000 sect points. In that case, he could directly exchange them for the Millennium Ice Lotus. Thinking of this, Mo Qingyun was a little excited. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun was speaking, Luo Renji sneered and said to Luo Weibai, "Weibai, since this little guy is sincerely asking for advice, don't hold back. Otherwise, you'll be letting him down." "Yes, Elder Renji." Hearing Luo Renji's words, Luo Weibai immediately understood what he meant. The sneer on his face deepened. Luo Renji, don't go too far. Seeing Luo Renji's actions, Xian Shan and the others' faces immediately darkened and they shouted angrily at Luo Renji. How could they not understand the meaning of Luo Renji's words earlier? He was going to be ruthless. Xian Kuan, what do you mean? When he heard the words of Elder Xian Kuan and the others, Luo Renji pretended to be puzzled and sneered. Could it be that I should ask Wei Bai to go easy on me and deliberately play half-heartedly when I fight with that little fellow later? Hearing this, Xian Shan and the others were furious. They stood up angrily and glared at Luo Renji, speechless. At this moment, Luo Renji's words were obviously sophistry. Master, elders, you don't have to be angry. Seeing the actions of Xian Shan and the others, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and consoled them. Since this elder has said so, this disciple will also use his full strength in the following battle. Otherwise, wouldn't I be letting down senior brother Luo's wholehearted guidance? At this moment, Mo Qingyun's eyes were filled with playfulness when he said this. Chapter 395. Alright, let's cut the crap. Senior brother, make your move. After replying to Xian Shan and the others, Mo Qingyun urged Luo Wei Bai. It was rare for Mo Qingyun to talk to Luo Wei Bai. Junior brother, since you can't wait, I won't be polite. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Luo Wei Bai sneered and said, however, to show my modesty, I'll let you make the first move. In that case, I won't be polite. Hearing Luo Wei Bai's words, the smile on Mo Qingyun's face became wider. Blazing Scarlet Dragon, appear! Immediately, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately summoned the blazing Scarlet Dragon Martial Soul. Roar! A dragon's roar immediately came from the sky, emitting a terrifying dragon power and heat wave. His martial soul is actually a top level 13 blazing Scarlet Dragon Martial Soul. Seeing Mo Qingyun's martial soul, Xian Kuan and the others were shocked and looked at Mo Qingyun in shock. They had only heard that Xian Shan had taken in a talented disciple, but they did not know what Mo Qingyun's martial soul was. This scene was simply too shocking for them. Top level 13 blazing Scarlet Dragon Martial Soul, this kid's talent is monstrous. Rolling Curtain Peak actually recruited such a disciple. When Luo Renji and the others saw Mo Qingyun's martial soul, their faces immediately changed and they looked at Xian Shan and the others with jealousy. Such a disciple was actually recruited by Rolling Curtain Peak. Top level 13 blazing Scarlet Dragon Martial Soul, this junior brother's martial soul is probably the highest in Dark Ice Palace? Our Rolling Curtain Peak actually has such a genius. It seems that our Rolling Curtain Peak is going to rise. When the surrounding disciples saw Mo Qingyun's martial soul, their expressions changed and they were shocked. At this moment, on the storm platform, Mo Qingyun summoned his martial soul and completed the soul change in an instant. Just like Xian Qianyuan, he did not complete the soul change and only entered the half-change state. In the half-change state, Mo Qingyun's body was covered with a layer of red dragon scales, which made him look like a dragon war god. Blood Chi Berserk. After completing the soul change, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately displayed his martial soul superpower. Subsequently, the aura on his body rose extremely swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, it had arrived at the 7th level of the Origin Core stage. Level 7 Yuan Dan Aura. Feeling Mo Qingyun's aura, everyone's expression changed again. They were shocked by the change in Mo Qingyun's aura. This is his martial soul superpower's martial soul superpower. When Xian Shan saw Mo Qingyun use his martial spirit super ability, he was immediately excited and his body trembled unconsciously. This kid, he actually hid such a trump card. Seeing Mo Qingyun's move, Xian Kuan's expression changed and he was shocked. He sighed and said, Sun Quan is no match for this kid. Hearing Xian Kuan's words, Xian Qiming and the rest were silent and agreed with Sun Quan. Judging from Mo Qingyun's current performance, Sun Quan was indeed much weaker than him. He actually hid such a trump card. Sun Quan, who was at the side of the wind cloud platform, saw Emo Qingyun's performance and immediately became dispirited. He thought to himself, he actually hid such a powerful trump card when he fought with me. In an instant, Sun Quan's face was filled with bitterness and he could not help but laugh at himself. When did such a terrifying guy appear on our rolling curtain peak? His talent is too demonic. He's only at level 5 Yuan Dan stage and his strength is already so terrifying. When he breaks through to the peak of Yuan Dan stage, who in the same stage can defeat him? It seems like it won't be easy for Luo Weibai to defeat him. Seeing Emo Qingyun's performance, the surrounding disciples were shocked by Emo Qingyun's actions. Mysterious Nether Slayer, at this moment, while everyone was shocked by Emo Qingyun's martial soul superpower, Emo Qingyun held the Evil Slayer sword and slashed at Luo Weibai. Roar! With a slash, the origin energy on the Evil Slayer sword surged and turned into an Ice Dragon sword radiance that attacked Luo Weibai. Under the movement of the Ice Dragon sword beam, an ice storm instantly condensed and engulfed Luo Weibai like a tornado. Bang! Under the storm-like impact of the ice blue sword radiance, Luo Weibai was like a candle in the wind and was instantly blown away. Then, everyone saw Luo Weibai's body fall heavily on the wind cloud platform. His face was red and twitching. Acting tough when he doesn't have the ability. He let junior brother Mo attack first and now, he's being beaten like an idiot. Luo Weibai thought that he wouldn't be struck by lightning because he was acting tough. But junior brother Mo's attack is even more powerful than lightning. Luo Weibai is too arrogant. He must be feeling terrible after receiving this attack. Looking at Luo Weibai, who was swaying and walking unsteadily on the wind cloud platform, the surrounding disciples said disdainfully. This, Xian Shan and the rest were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. The scene before their eyes was far too different from what they had imagined. Crack crack, compared to the shock of Xian Shan and the rest, Luo Renji's face was much uglier. He gritted his teeth and made a crisp sound. At this moment, everyone was shocked by Emo Qingyun's actions. Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and slowly walked towards Luo Weibai. He pretended to be concerned and asked, "Senior brother, are you okay? Did I hit you too hard? Did I hit you too hard?" Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, everyone's expression immediately became strange. They looked at Emo Qingyun in shock. Was he mocking Luo Weibai for being too weak? However, while everyone was still in shock, Emo Qingyun looked at Luo Weibai and said, "I just heard Elder Luo Renji say that we have to go all out in the fight. I didn't expect you to be so weak. I'm sorry, if I had known earlier, I would have hit you more gently. I didn't expect you to be so weak. If I had known earlier, I would have hit you more gently." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, everyone's expression became even more interesting. They all looked at Emo Qingyun with admiration. It had to be said that Emo Qingyun's words were too harsh. This was simply taking advantage of others and taking advantage of others. It was extremely insulting. Puff. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Luo Weibai immediately became angry. He could no longer suppress the blood in his body, and spat out a mouthful of blood. Cough cough cough. After spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood, Luo Weibai coughed lightly. He looked at Emo Qingyun gloomily and said coldly, "Junior brother, you did well just now. You should go all out in the fight. I will also go all out in the fight." At this moment, Luo Weibai's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He could not wait to skin Emo Qingyun and pull out his tendons. This time, he could be considered to have miscalculated. He was actually tricked by Emo Qingyun, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. "Thank you for the compliment, senior brother. I will go all out in the fight." Chapter 396. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Luo Weibai's face twitched and darkened to the extreme. Emo Qingyun's words gave him the feeling that he was being humiliated and slapped in the face. What did he mean by "go easy on him"? Could it be that he, Luo Weibai, the #1 disciple of the Yuan Dan at Babing Peak, was so weak? Thinking of this, Luo Weibai's face turned ugly. He looked at Emo Qingyun with a ferocious expression and said angrily, "Don't talk nonsense. I'm fine now. Go all out and don't show any mercy." As soon as Luo Weibai finished speaking, he no longer hesitated and immediately attacked Emo Qingyun. Purple Radiant Sky Ice Scorpion, Soul Transformation. Once his martial spirit was summoned, Luo Weibai completed the soul transformation in an instant and entered the half-transformed state. At this moment, Luo Weibai's body was covered with a layer of purple scales and a slender scorpion tail grew from his back. Other than that, Luo Weibai's body was surrounded by a circle of purple poisonous gas. It looked somewhat eerie and terrifying. Top grade 12 martial spirit, Purple Radiant Sky Ice Scorpion. Seeing Luo Weibai's martial spirit, Emo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. He was surprised at the grade of Luo Weibai's martial spirit. It seemed that Luo Weibai's title as the #1 disciple of the Babing Peak at Yuan Dan wasn't undeserved. Sky Scorpion Ice Prison. While Emo Qingyun was sizing up Luo Weibai, he saw Luo Weibai's aura surge and a terrifying elemental energy storm burst out. Once this elemental energy storm was formed, it instantly enveloped Emo Qingyun and turned into a huge ice prison, imprisoning Emo Qingyun within. As Emo Qingyun was imprisoned in the ice prison, his clothes and hair started to condense white frost and freeze. After discovering this, Luo Weibai sneered and said proudly, "Junior brother, how is my Sky Scorpion ice prison? Do you feel a bone-piercing chill? I once used this Sky Scorpion ice prison to trap an expert of the Pill Palace. I froze him to death in the Sky Scorpion ice prison." At this moment, Luo Weibai revealed a complacent expression. He looked at Emo Qingyun arrogantly and said, "But don't worry, your senior apprentice brother will guide you in your cultivation today. I won't freeze you to death. Xian Kuan, this disciple of your Rolling Curtain Peak, seems to have become a turtle in a jar." Seeing that Emo Qingyun was trapped by Luo Weibai's martial spirit divine ability, Luo Renji immediately revealed a complacent sneer and spoke arrogantly to Xian Kuan and the others. "Not good, Tianhun has been trapped." Hearing Luo Renji's words, Xian Shan and the others immediately tensed up and looked worriedly at Emo Qingyun on the storm platform. Luo Weibai's water ultimacy has already reached the 9th level and is not much weaker than Tianhun. This time, Tianhun is in trouble. Xian Kuan and the others revealed anxious expressions when they sensed Luo Weibai's water profound realm. They said to Xian Shan in a deep voice, "Junior brother Xian Shan, why don't we admit defeat so that our heavenly souls won't be injured by the cold energy of the ice prison?" This, hearing Xian Kuan and the others' suggestion, Xian Shan immediately frowned and revealed a troubled expression. At this moment, Xian Shan was pondering. A disciple of the Rolling Curtain Peak suddenly revealed a look of excitement and exclaimed, "Look, junior brother Mo's fire ultimacy seems to be much stronger than when he fought with Sun Yi. That is the fire ultimacy, junior brother Mo. He actually comprehended the fire ultimacy to perfection. What kind of freak is this kid? Yuan Dan is only at the 5th level of cultivation and he has comprehended 2 types of ultimacy to perfection. He's too much of a beast." Seeing Emo Qingyun's performance, everyone was shocked and revealed an expression of disbelief. Bang! Under everyone's gaze, a terrifying heat wave exploded from Emo Qingyun's body to counteract the surrounding cold air. Under the impact of the heat wave from Emo Qingyun's body, the surrounding cold air and ice prison immediately began to melt into mist. Seeing this, Xian Shan and the others' expressions changed drastically and they revealed a look of shock. Fire ultimacy to perfection. Sensing Emo Qingyun's ultimacy power, Xian Shan revealed a look of surprise. He looked at Emo Qingyun and was speechless. Emo Qingyun had given him too many surprises. He had just demonstrated the fire ultimacy to perfection. Now, he had demonstrated the fire ultimacy to perfection. Fire ultimacy to perfection. How did this kid do it? At this moment, while Xian Shan revealed a look of shock, Xian Kuan and the others who were beside him also revealed a look of shock, and they were instantly stunned. He was only at the 5th level of Yuan Dan, but he had already comprehended 2 types of ultimacy. This was simply too shocking. How is this possible? How can a kid at stage 5 Yuan Dan comprehend 2 types of ultimacy to perfection? Luo Rinji's face was full of shock as if he had seen a ghost. He uttered these words in disbelief. While saying this, Luo Rinji's eyes flashed with a cold light as he looked at Xian Shan and the others with jealousy. This kind of talented junior was actually not at their bathing peak, but at the rolling curtain peak. At this moment, on the storm platform. Break. Releasing the fire ultimacy to perfection, Mo Qingyun blocked the surrounding cold air and raised his hand to strike out a palm. With a palm strike, the surging fire elemental energy turned into a dragon shadow and rushed towards the ice prison. Bang! Under the power of the flaming dragon shadow, the scorpion ice prison was instantly shattered into small ice shards and scattered on the ground. You have comprehended the fire ultimacy to perfection. Feeling the fire elemental energy from Mo Qingyun, Luo Weibai was shocked and looked at Mo Qingyun in disbelief. Mo Qingyun was only at stage 5 Yuan Dan stage 5, but he had comprehended 2 types of ultimacy to perfection. This kind of comprehension ability was too frightening. It's too late for you to realize this now. Seeing Luo Weibai's shock, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and did not take his words to heart. Mo Qingyun didn't hesitate any longer. He immediately wielded the evil-slaying sword and slashed at Luo Weibai. When the sword slashed out, Mo Qingyun seemed to have merged with heaven and earth, emitting an aura that made people kneel down and worship him. Blade force. This is the force of heaven and earth. Feeling Mo Qingyun's blade force, Xian Shan and the others trembled again, and their expressions became even more shocked. Mo Qingyun had comprehended blade force. This was too shocking. Even with their cultivation, they had not comprehended any force of heaven and earth. They did not expect Mo Qingyun, a stage 5 Yuan Dan stage 5 junior, to be able to do this. It was really unbelievable. Roar. While everyone was still in shock, a terrifying dragon-shaped blade radiance, like a real ancient dragon, rushed towards Luo Weibai. Under the attack of this ancient dragon, the entire storm platform was instantly turned into a sea of fire. Seeing the fire dragon blade radiance coming at him, Luo Weibai did not dare to hesitate. He immediately raised his hand to block it and hurriedly punched out. However, Luo Weibai's punch was like a chicken in the face of the fire dragon blade radiance's attack. It was defeated in the blink of an eye. Bang! Following that, the fiery dragon saber radiance slammed into Luo Weibai's body and sent him flying. After sending Luo Weibai flying with one blow, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate. He immediately moved and attacked Luo Weibai. Boy, stop! Chapter 397. Luo Weibai was a genius disciple of Babing Peak. Luo Rinji could not just stand by and watch Mo Qingyun seriously injure him. However, Luo Rinji did not expect that Mo Qingyun would attack Luo Weibai after he spoke. How dare you! Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Luo Rinji's face twitched with anger. A guy with a cultivation of level 5 Yuan Dan realm dared to ignore his word. He was too arrogant. Immediately, Luo Rinji no longer hesitated and attacked Mo Qingyun to stop Mo Qingyun from attacking Luo Weibai. Luo Rinji, you've gone too far. Seeing Luo Rinji's action, Xian Shan and the others' faces turned cold. They raised their hands to stop Luo Rinji. Then, a terrifying aura erupted from the surroundings of the storm platform. On the storm platform, seeing Luo Rinji's action, Mo Qingyun's face turned gloomy and his eyes flashed with a cold light. As a Heaven Dipper realm elder, Luo Renji did not care about his status and attacked a Yuan Dan realm disciple. This action was too shameless. It had touched Mo Qingyun's bottom line. Immediately, Mo Qingyun's attack on Luo Weibai became more ruthless and fierce. At the moment, Mo Qingyun's killing intent towards Luo Weibai had already been aroused. Bird of Prey break, then, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately used a martial skill to attack Luo Weibai. Under the martial skill, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate to release the complete wind ultimacy. Then, Mo Qingyun's body turned into a streamer. In a flash, he appeared in front of Luo Weibai. Complete wind ultimacy. Sensing the wind profound meaning on Mo Qingyun's body, the surrounding people's expressions changed. They were immediately stunned. 3 types of ultimacy. Mo Qingyun, a level 5 Yuan Dan realm disciple, had comprehended 3 types of ultimacy. Hiss. 3 types of ultimacy. When Xian Shan and the rest saw this, they sucked in a breath of cold air. They were extremely shocked. At this moment, they were all shocked by Mo Qingyun's performance. While everyone was still in shock, Mo Qingyun arrived in front of Luo Weibai and attacked Luo Weibai's Dantian without hesitation. A palm blasted out, and a violent fire origin energy instantly enveloped Luo Weibai. Run! Seeing Mo Luo Weibai's face Change's face was filled with horror. He did not dare to confront Mo face to face. Luo Weibai immediately turned around and fled. He wanted to avoid Mo Qingyun's attack. Want to run? Not so easy. Seeing Luo Weibai's action, Mo Qingyun's lips curled into a cold smile. Immediately, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and released the complete earth ultimacy to suppress Luo Weibai. Gravity suppression. At this moment, a terrifying gravitational force appeared and suppressed Luo Weibai's body. Luo Weibai was unable to move. Being suppressed by the complete mastery of the profound meaning of earth, Luo Weibai's expression immediately changed into one of shock. Complete earth ultimacy. Luo Weibai's expression twitched. He looked at Mo Qingyun with a terrified expression as he uttered these words. Plop! Then, under the terrifying gravitational force, Luo Weibai's knees gave way and he fell to his knees. Bang! Just as Luo Weibai fell to his knees, Mo Qingyun's palm attack landed on Luo Weibai's Dantian. When the palm hit Luo Weibai's Dantian, Mo Qingyun's palm emitted a golden light and a terrifying aura. This was the complete metal ultimacy. With the support of the metal ultimacy, the power of Mo Qingyun's palm attack increased by several times. Following that, Luo Weibai's Dantian was instantly blasted into pieces by Mo Qingyun's palm, shattering into pieces. Poochie! Luo Weibai's face turned pale as his Dantian was shattered. He spat out blood and his aura weakened rapidly. Soon, Luo Weibai's aura weakened to that of an ordinary person. Looking at his current state, he was most likely a cripple and would not be able to cultivate for the rest of his life. Boy, you're courting death. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Luo Renji's eyes were bloodthirsty. He wished he could cut Mo Qingyun into pieces. Their Babing Peak's genius disciple was actually crippled by Mo Qingyun. This was something he could not accept. Then, Luo Renji's face revealed a crazed expression as he quickly struck out a palm at Mo Qingyun. Bird of Prey break. Seeing Luo Renji's attack, Mo Qingyun did not dare to hesitate. His body flashed and he quickly rushed into the crowd of disciples outside the storm platform. Just as Mo Qingyun left, a terrifying palm attack landed on the storm platform. As soon as this terrifying palm attack landed on the storm platform, it set off a terrifying Yuan energy storm and swallowed Luo Weibai. Mo Qingyun could dodge, but he could not. Under Mo Qingyun's attack, he was now like mud. How could he dodge Luo Renji's palm attack? Bang! Under Luo Renji's palm attack, Luo Weibai was instantly sent flying. He spat out blood and lay motionless on the ground. Weibai! Seeing that Luo Weibai was hit by his palm, Luo Renji's face suddenly became nervous and he anxiously called out. Then, Luo Renji moved and came to Luo Weibai's side to check on Luo Weibai's injuries. At this moment, while Luo Renji was checking on Luo Weibai's injuries, Mo Qingyun came to the side of Xian Shan and the others. Tianhun, are you okay? Seeing that Mo Qingyun came to their side, Xian Shan and the others showed concern and asked Mo Qingyun with concern. Mo Qingyun was now the treasure of Rolling Curtain Peak and could not be injured. Master, elders, I'm fine. Hearing everyone's concern, Mo Qingyun responded with a faint smile, indicating that they did not need to worry. It's good that you're fine, it's good that you're fine. Hearing Mo Qingyun's reply, Xian Shan showed a gratified smile and said something joyful. He really did not expect Mo Qingyun's talent to be so good. Yuan Dan's cultivation was only at level 5 and he had comprehended 3 types of ultimacy to perfection. Such terrifying comprehension ability was not found in the entire mysterious Ice Palace. At this moment, Xian Shan walked out with a joyful expression. To the side, Xian Kun frowned and revealed a puzzled expression. He asked Mo Qingyun, Tianhun, you suppressed Luo Weibai's profundities of earth earlier. Could it be that you have attained perfection in the profundities of earth? Yes. In response to Xian Kun's puzzled question, Mo Qingyun did not hide and nodded. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xian Shan and the others immediately trembled. They looked at Mo Qingyun in shock as though they were looking at a monster. In that case, Mo Qingyun had comprehended 4 types of ultimacy to perfection, not 3. Yuan Dan's cultivation was only at level 5, and he had already comprehended 4 types of ultimacy to perfection. What kind of talent was this? At this moment, Xian Shan and the others suddenly felt that their brains were not enough and they became confused. Chapter 398. Brat, you've gone too far. After checking on Luo Weibai's injuries, Luo Renji's eyes turned bloodshot as he turned to glare at Mo Qingyun. After a quick check, he discovered that Luo Weibai's dantian and meridians had all been shattered by the power of gung metal. Given Luo Weibai's injuries, even a Supreme Being powerhouse wouldn't be able to save him. In other words, Luo Weibai had been completely crippled by Mo Qingyun. When he thought about how he, the strongest primal core disciple on dominating Ice Peak, had been crippled by Mo Qingyun, he felt a chill run down his spine. Luo Renji's anger had reached its peak. This matter had already crossed his bottom line. After saying this, Luo Renji's expression turned sinister as he glared at Xian Shan and the others. Xian Kun, Weibai was kind enough to guide this brat in his cultivation. He actually sneakily attacked Weibai and turned him into a cripple. Are you going to protect such a vile creature? Xian Kun and the others frowned when they heard Luo Renji's words. They didn't know how to refute him. After all, Luo Weibai was a genius on Babing Peak. Mo Qingyun had been too ruthless to cripple him. Luo Renji's expression turned even darker when he saw that Xian Kun and the others were at a loss for words. If you don't want the Rolling Curtain Peak to start a war with our Babing Peak, you'd better hand this brat over to our Babing Peak. At this moment, Luo Renji's words clearly carried a hint of threat. One couldn't blame Luo Renji for being so overbearing. After all, the Babing Peak had one more Heavenly Dipper realm elite than the Rolling Curtain Peak. Xian Shan and the others' expressions turned grave when they heard Luo Renji's words. They looked like they were in a difficult position. However, it was impossible for them to hand over Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun was now the treasure of the Rolling Curtain Peak. They couldn't allow him to suffer any harm. They knew very well that if Mo Qingyun fell into the hands of the Babing Peak, he wouldn't have a good ending. However, it was impossible for them to not give an explanation to Luo Renji. After all, they were in the wrong. While Xian Shan and the others were in a difficult position, Mo Qingyun looked indifferent. He was quietly waiting for their reply. The current situation was a good thing for Mo Qingyun. He could use this opportunity to test how important he was in the hearts of Xian Shan and the others, and whether Xian Shan and the others would disregard everything for him. After pondering for a while, Xian Shan's face turned cold. He looked at Luo Renji and said in a deep voice, "Fists and kicks have no eyes. It is inevitable that there will be injuries and deaths in a fight. However, we are willing to compensate for Luo Weibai's injuries." Compensate? How do you want to compensate? Luo Renji sneered coldly when he heard Xian Shan's words. The compensation I want now is for you to hand this kid over to us and let the Babing Peak do whatever we want with him. Luo Renji, it's impossible for us to hand over Heavenly Soul. You should change your request. Hearing Luo Renji's words, Xian Shan and the others rejected his request without any hesitation. Luo Renji's expression twisted when he heard Xian Shan's words. His face darkened. Xian Kuan, are you really going to start a war between the Rolling Curtain Peak and the Babing Peak because of this kid? Let's start a war. Do you think the Rolling Curtain Peak is afraid of the Babing Peak? Hearing Luo Renji's domineering words, Xian Qiming's face was filled with anger, and he said something that was not to be outdone. Mo Qingyun smiled when he saw Xian Qiming's actions. He was very satisfied with Xian Shan and the others' actions. This was the result he wanted. Elder Luo, you've wronged me. After that, Mo Qingyun stopped maintaining his silence, and he revealed an aggrieved expression as he said, "During the battle earlier, I repeatedly asked Senior Brother Luo Weibai if I should go easy on him, but Senior Brother Luo Weibai constantly asked me to use my full strength, so I." Mo Qingyun paused. He looked at the disciples of the various peaks and said, "The senior brothers of the various peaks saw what happened just now. They can all testify for me." The disciples of the various peaks around the storm platform started whispering to each other when they heard Mo Qingyun's words. That's right. Junior brother Mo did ask Luo Weibai if he should use less strength. I heard it too. It seems that Luo Weibai angrily refused and asked junior brother Mo not to use his full strength. Not only did Luo Weibai say that. Before they started fighting, Elder Luo Renji told them not to use their full strength. For a time, the disciples from the various peaks began to whisper to each other. Mo Qingyun smiled when he saw everyone's actions. Elder Luo, I remember that before I started fighting with Senior Brother Luo, you told us not to use our full strength. Now, you want to punish me because I used my full strength and injured Senior Brother Luo. I'm not happy about that. Xian Shan and the others' eyes lit up when they heard Mo Qingyun's words. They looked at Mo Qingyun differently. At this moment, they suddenly realized that they had underestimated Mo Qingyun. They could tell that from the start, Mo Qingyun had set a trap for Luo Renji and was waiting for Luo Renji to jump into it. As expected, Luo Renji and Luo Weibai's arrogance had caused them to fall into Mo Qingyun's trap. This guy is so scheming. Xian Shan and the others immediately gave Mo Qingyun an evaluation. Luo Renji, it seems that you can't blame Tian Hun for this. He only did what you told him to do. Xian Kuan sneered at Luo Renji and said, "On account of your grief and indignation from losing a genius disciple, I couldn't control myself and said those rude words. You can leave with the people from the dominating ice peak. I won't pursue this matter any further." Won't pursue this matter any further? Hearing Xian Kuan's words, Luo Renji was stunned. In the blink of an eye, they had turned from victims to sinners. After being stunned for a short while, Luo Renji's face darkened and he said coldly, "You hurt my Babing Peak's disciple, and you want to let it go with just a few words? There's no such good thing in this world. If you don't hand this guy over today, I won't let it go." If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. Elder Luo, if you want to deal with me, just say it. There's no need to talk so much nonsense. After Luo Renji finished speaking, Mo Qingyun's face darkened and he said angrily, "Also, as a Heaven Star Border Elder, you actually attacked me, a Yuan Dan Realm Jr. Are all of you from Babing Peak so shameless? Emo Qingyun continued, furthermore, you failed to save Luo Weibai from my hands even though you're only in the 5th level of the Heaven Dipper realm. This is your own incompetence. A shameless and incompetent person like you actually has the face to fart here. Seeing Emo Qingyun's actions, the surrounding people were stunned and couldn't believe their eyes. Chapter 399. Good, well scolded. Seeing Emo Qingyun's actions, Xian Kun revealed a carefree smile and praised Emo Qingyun. Immediately, Xian Kun revealed a cold and arrogant expression and said coldly to Luo Renji, let me tell you clearly now. It's impossible for us to hand over our heavenly souls. If Babing Peak wants to start a war with our Rolling Curtain Peak, then bring it on. You guys. Hearing Xian Kun's words, Luo Renji immediately raised his hand and pointed at Xian Kun and the others, his angry expression constantly twitching. Good, very good. It seems that our Babing Peak has been too kind to you guys, so you dare to speak to us like this now. After glaring at Xian Kun and the others, Luo Renji revealed a cold smile and looked at Xian Kun and the others malevolently. The Rolling Curtain Peak today is no longer the Rolling Curtain Peak of the past. Do you still think that the Rolling Curtain Peak is still the Big Dipper Peak of the past? The Rolling Curtain Peak is the Big Dipper Peak? Hearing Luo Renji's words, Emo Qingyun's expression immediately changed. He was somewhat surprised by Luo Renji's words. He really didn't expect that the Rolling Curtain Peak was once the Big Dipper Peak. This meant that the Rolling Curtain Peak used to be a peak with a half-step transcendent power expert overseeing it. He didn't expect that with the passage of time, the Rolling Curtain Peak that used to be the Big Dipper Peak had fallen to become an ordinary peak and was even bullied by another ordinary peak. Such a scene really made people sigh endlessly. Even if our Rolling Curtain Peak is no longer the Big Dipper Peak, it's still not your place to be bullied by Babing Peak. Hearing Luo Renji's words, Xian Kun revealed a cold expression and said angrily, is that so? Hearing Xian Kun's words, Luo Renji immediately sneered and said coldly, an ordinary peak that doesn't have a Heavenly Dipper realm expert overseeing it. I hope that your Rolling Curtain Peak won't be removed in the next dynasty war. At that moment, after Luo Renji spoke, the expressions of Xian Kun and the others immediately became heavy. Their eyes were filled with anger. However, even though they were furious, they could not refute Luo Renji's words. In the profound ice palace, a peak that did not have a Heavenly Dipper realm expert overseeing it did not have any status. At this moment, while Xian Kun and the others' hearts were heavy, a terrifying aura suddenly came from the Peak Lord's residence on the Rolling Curtain Peak. This was the aura of a Heavenly Dipper realm expert. On the Rolling Curtain Peak, was there a Heavenly Dipper realm expert? After discovering this, the crowd's expressions immediately changed. Astonishment appeared on their faces. They were extremely shocked by this scene. Who said that there wasn't a Heavenly Dipper realm expert overseeing the Rolling Curtain Peak? At this moment, while the crowd was still in shock, a cold voice sounded in their ears. After this voice sounded, the crowd saw an old man in a blue robe flying towards the wind cloud platform at an extremely fast speed. Ancestral Master Xian Ao. It's Ancestral Master Xian Ao. Ancestral Master Xian Ao's cultivation has broken through to the Heavenly Dipper realm. We finally have a Heavenly Dipper realm expert on the Rolling Curtain Peak. Seeing the arrival of the old man in a blue robe, the elders and disciples of the Rolling Curtain Peak immediately revealed excited smiles on their faces. Seeing the arrival of the old man in a blue robe, Xian Kun and the others were pleasantly surprised. He said excitedly to the old man, "Martial Uncle Xian Ao, your cultivation has broken through?" "Yes." Hearing the words of Xian Kun and the others, the old man in a blue robe nodded in response. He turned to look at Luo Renji and the others and said coldly, "Go back and tell Roba that if he wants to make a move on the Rolling Curtain Peak, He'll have to ask if I, Xian'ao, agree first. When Xian'ao said this, the aura of a Heavenly Dipper Realm Level 7 cultivation pressed down on Luo Renji without reservation. Under Xian'ao's aura, Luo Renji and the others' faces immediately turned red, and they were forced to retreat continuously. After retreating a few steps and stabilizing his body, Luo Renji calmed down the blood in his body. He glared at Xian'ao and the others and said to the people behind him, "Let's go." After Luo Renji finished his words, he didn't want to stay any longer and turned to leave directly. Wait a minute. At this moment, when Luo Renji and the others were about to leave, Emo Qingyun revealed a faint smile and said to Luo Renji, "Elder Luo, if you guys leave like this, you won't renege on the sect points I won, right?" When Emo Qingyun said this, the expressions of the surrounding people immediately changed. They subconsciously looked at Luo Renji and the others. At this moment, everyone's gaze was obviously worried for Emo Qingyun. Luo Renji would renege on Emo Qingyun's sect point. Seeing everyone looking at him, Luo Renji glared at Emo Qingyun and said coldly, "Brat, don't measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. This old man won't renege on the sect points of a junior like you." "Oh, that's good." When he heard Luo Renji's words, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and replied, "Elder Luo, because you attacked me without regard for your status as an elder, I was worried that you wouldn't keep your word. I hope you don't take offense." In his heart, Emo Qingyun was indeed worried that Luo Renji would renege on the sect points he won. After all, his current sect points were just enough to exchange for the Millennium Ice Lotus to save Ruoshui. "Brat, you." When he heard Emo Qingyun's words, Luo Renji was instantly enraged. He glared at Emo Qingyun but couldn't say anything. Humph. Immediately, Luo Renji waved his sleeves and left with Babing Peak's people. Seeing Luo Renji and the others leave, Xian'ao looked at Emo Qingyun with fondness and smiled faintly. "Little guy, you're called Emo Tianhun, right? You're very good. Thank you for your praise, ancestral master." In response to Xian'ao's praise, Emo Qingyun showed a respectful expression and nodded in response. "Yes. Your performance just now was very good. You didn't embarrass our rolling curtain peak." Xian'ao smiled brightly and praised Emo Qingyun. He took out a token and handed it to Emo Qingyun, saying, "Little guy, keep this token well. With this token on you, you'll have to think twice before touching Babing Peak's people." This is, when he saw the token that Xian'ao handed over, Emo Qingyun's expression suddenly changed. He looked at the token in his hand in shock. This was because Emo Qingyun saw a few simple and unadorned words written on the token in his hand. Peak Master's Token of Legacy. The Peak Master's Token of Legacy. This meant that with this token, Emo Qingyun was the candidate for the Peak Master's inheritance of Rolling Curtain Peak. This kind of thing was really unexpected for Emo Qingyun. Seeing Xian'ao's actions, Xian Kuan and the others' expressions immediately changed. They were shocked and said, "Martial Uncle Xian'ao, you're giving the Peak Master's Token of Legacy to Tianhun. Are you planning to?" "Hee, I am indeed planning to do that." When he heard what Xian Kuan and the others said, Xian'ao looked at Emo Qingyun with admiration and said with a smile, "Little guy, I'm giving this Peak Master's Token of Legacy to you now. Whether you can turn it into a Peak Master's token will depend on your own ability. Tianhun will definitely not disappoint Ancestral Master Xian'ao's expectations." When he heard Xian'ao's words, Emo Qingyun's expression became serious and he responded to Xian'ao. Good. I hope you'll be able to surprise me." When he saw Emo Qingyun's determined expression, Xian'ao praised Emo Qingyun again, and said indifferently, "I still have to stabilize my cultivation, so I'll be leaving first. Little guy, come visit me when you're free." When Xian'ao finished speaking, he directly left. Chapter 400. Tianhun, I have something to say to you. Come with me. Xian Shan greeted Mo Qingyun with a faint smile as he left the wind cloud platform. Okay. Mo Qingyun nodded and followed Xian Shan and the others to Xian Shan's residence. After Mo Qingyun left the wind cloud platform, the news of his battle immediately spread in the dark ice palace. Today, I saw a super genius on the rolling curtain peak. Yuan Dan comprehended 4 profound meanings with a cultivation of LV5. Is that true? Why haven't I heard of such a person on the rolling curtain peak? Of course it's true. Thousands of disciples on the rolling curtain peak saw the battle. Yuan Dan comprehended 4 profound meanings with a cultivation of LV5. Even the Big Dipper Peak doesn't have such a freak. Not to mention the Big Dipper Peak, I'm afraid that our dark ice palace has never had such a genius since its establishment. For a while, the rumors about Mo Qingyun spread like wildfire. At this moment, Mo Qingyun instantly became a popular figure in the dark ice palace. He became famous after one battle. As the news of Mo Qingyun spread, some elders on the peaks also heard about Mo Qingyun. What did you say? There's a genius on the rolling curtain peak who comprehended 4 profound meanings with a cultivation of LV5. Yuan Dan? Yuan Dan comprehended 4 profound meanings with a cultivation of LV5. How can there be such a freak in the world? It must be a rumor. I just heard that the Supreme Elder of the Rolling Curtain Peak, Xian Ao, has broken through to the advanced Big Dipper realm. I wonder if it's true? Xian Ao's breakthrough should be real. It seems that they fabricated such a genius in order to build momentum for the summit battle in 2 years' time. The elders of the various peaks all snorted disdainfully at Mo Qingyun's rumor. They did not believe it was true. After all, to them, Yuan Dan comprehending 4 types of profound meanings at the 5th level of cultivation was a little too ridiculous. Of course, a small number of peak elders believed that the rumor might be true, so they began to pay attention to the rolling curtain peak. As a result, the rolling curtain peak suddenly became one of the most popular peaks in the Mystic Ice Palace. At this moment, Babing Peak was up. Luo Renji and the others left Rolling Curtain Peak. After returning to Babing Peak, they went directly to Roba's residence. Now that Roba's cultivation had broken through to the Heavenly Dipper realm, he had become the head of Babing Peak. Moreover, Roba and Luo Weibai had some relationship. Therefore, they had to report to Roba about Mo Qingyun. Greetings, Martial Uncle Roba, Renji. When they arrived at Roba's residence, Luo Renji and the others bowed respectfully to Roba. No need to be so polite, take a seat. Roba smiled faintly at the actions of Luo Renji and the others. He pointed to the chair beside him and said, Renji, why are you looking for me? Hearing Roba's words, Luo Renji and the others frowned slightly and said with a troubled expression, Martial Uncle Roba, Weibai's Dantian has been destroyed, and all his meridians have been shattered. I'm afraid he will become a cripple in the future. Luo Weibai was the number 1 disciple of Yuan Dan in Babing Peak. He had always been favored by Roba and had planned to take Luo Weibai as a successor disciple. Hearing Luo Renji say that Luo Weibai's Dantian had been destroyed and he would become a cripple in the future, Roba was immediately enraged. Pada. Roba exerted force in his hand and crushed the teacup in his hand. The teacup fell to the ground and made a clattering sound. At the same time, Roba's body emitted a terrifying aura. His clothes and hair fluttered in the wind. Tell me quickly, who destroyed Weibai's Dantian? Roba's expression was ferocious and his tone was gloomy. It's a successor disciple of Rolling Curtain Peak. His name is Mo Tianhun. Luo Renji gritted his teeth and revealed a gloomy expression as he said with a savage expression, This Mo Tianhun is a peerless genius. Not only does he possess a top-grade level 13 Crimson Flame Heavenly Dragon Martial Soul, he even comprehended 4 types of perfection profundities with a cultivation at the 5th level of the Origin Core stage. Luo Rinji didn't know that Mo Qingyun had not only mastered the wind, fire, water, and earth profound meanings to perfection, but also the metal profound meaning to perfection. If he knew that Mo Qingyun had mastered 5 types of profound meanings to perfection with his cultivation of level 5 Yuan Dan, he would be even more shocked. The Scarlet Flame Dragon martial spirit and his surname is Mo? Hearing Luo Rinji's words, Roba frowned and his expression changed. He couldn't help but think of a person and said to himself, could it be that kid? After thinking about it, Roba didn't hesitate and said to Luo Rinji in a deep voice, use the Big Dipper picture and simulate that kid's appearance. Yes, Martial Uncle Roba. Hearing Roba's words, Luo Rinji and the others didn't dare to hesitate. They immediately released the Big Dipper picture and simulated Mo Qingyun's appearance. After a while, the image of Mo Qingyun appeared in Luo Rinji's Big Dipper picture. Seeing Luo Rinji's image in the Big Dipper picture, Roba's expression instantly darkened and he said angrily, it really is that kid. I didn't expect him to be so bold to come to the Dark Ice Palace. Does he really think that I don't exist? Follow me to the Rolling Curtain Peak. I'd like to see who dares to protect this kid. As soon as Luo Ba finished speaking, he stood up and prepared to head to the mysterious Ice Palace to look for Mo Qingyun. Seeing Roba's action, Luo Rinji and the others' expressions immediately changed. They hurriedly shouted to Roba, Martial Uncle Roba, please wait. Hearing Luo Rinji's words, Roba's face darkened and he asked coldly, what's wrong? Do those people on the Rolling Curtain Peak dare to stop us? Martial Uncle Roba, the Supreme Elder of the Rolling Curtain Peak, Xian Ao, has broken through to the advanced Heavenly Dipper realm. Luo Rinji's face was filled with anger. He paused and said unwillingly, also, because Xian Ao protected that kid with all his strength, we couldn't catch him. If not for him, I would have executed that kid on the spot. Xian Ao's cultivation has broken through to the advanced Heavenly Dipper realm. Hearing Luo Rinji's words, Roba's face immediately became gloomy. He gritted his teeth and said, this damn old man. Why did he have to break through at this time? After uttering these angry words, Roba no longer planned to go to the Rolling Curtain Peak and capture Mo Qingyun. He knew that Xian Ao's strength was similar to his. Now that Xian Ao's cultivation had also broken through to the advanced Heavenly Dipper realm, it was impossible for him to capture Mo Qingyun. After thinking like this, Luo Ba revealed a gloomy expression and instructed Luo Rinji and the others, next, all of you keep an eye on that brat's whereabouts. Once he leaves Open Curtain Peak, all of you take him down. Yes, Martial Uncle Roba. Hearing Roba's words, Luo Rinji and the others responded. Chapter 401. After a while, Mo Qingyun arrived at Xian Shan's residence. Walking into the small courtyard, Xian Shan smiled faintly and asked Mo Qingyun with concern, Tianhun, are you used to living on Rolling Curtain Peak? Master, I feel very good. In response to Xian Shan's words of concern, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and replied, that's good. Xian Shan smiled faintly and nodded. He reminded Mo Qingyun, if there's anything you need, come and tell me at any time. Okay. Mo Qingyun responded. He came out with a puzzled expression and asked Xian Shan, Master, I heard from Luo Rinji that Rolling Curtain Peak used to be Big Dipper Peak. How could it be? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xian Shan's expression froze and became serious. It's a long story. It starts with a peerless genius from the mysterious Ice Palace, Nangong Yu, 500 years ago. Xian Shan sighed and said in a low voice, Nangong Yu's cultivation speed is astonishing. In just 100 years, his cultivation has broken through to the transcendent realm. His Ling Shao Peak has risen from an inferior peak to the Big Dipper Peak. Xian Shan sighed again and said, however, Nangong Yu was very ambitious. After he became the peak master of Big Dipper Peak, He began to covet the position of Palace Master of the mysterious Ice Palace. He secretly cultivated his confidants and eliminated his dissident. He secretly killed the peak masters and elders who were not loyal to him. At that time, our ancestor Xian Tong of Rolling Curtain Peak was not willing to be submissive to him and was eventually persecuted by him. Hearing Xian Shan's words, Mo Qingyun immediately understood. It turned out that Rolling Curtain Peak declined because of this. After knowing the reason for the decline of Rolling Curtain Peak, Mo Qingyun was curious again and asked, "Did Nangong Yu succeed in seizing power?" Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xian Shan fell silent for a moment before replying, "It can be considered a success, but it can also be considered a failure." Xian Shan's reply made Mo Qingyun even more puzzled. Seeing the confusion on Mo Qingyun's face, Xian Shan smiled faintly and continued, "After Nangong Yu successfully became the peak master of Tiangang Peak, he secretly plotted for more than 300 years. Only then did he reveal his greed more than 20 years ago. He rebelled and seized power, driving the Ling clan out of the mystic Ice Palace." Hearing Xian Shan's words, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately changed. With a shocked expression, he said, "Then, the current palace master of the mysterious Ice Palace is?" At this moment, Mo Qingyun was really shocked by Xian Shan's words. He did not expect Nangong Yu to succeed in his rebellion. No, the current palace master of the mystic Ice Palace is still a member of the Ling clan. Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xian Shan's expression turned solemn. He waved his hand and said, 10 years ago, Palace Master Ling Fangtian asked the powerhouses of the major regions to help him regain the position of Palace Master. Xian Shan's expression turned solemn as he continued, however, when Palace Master Ling regained the position of Palace Master, Nangong Yu escaped. Now, more than 10 years have passed, and there has been no news of Nangong Yu. It is as though he has evaporated into thin air. Nangong Yu is not dead? Upon hearing Xian Shan's words, Mo Qingyun was shocked once again. This outcome surprised him. Mo Qingyun was very clear about the strength of the powerhouses of the major regions. He did not expect Nangong Yu to be able to escape unscathed after being attacked by them. Needless to say, Nangong Yu's methods were really shocking. After telling Mo Qingyun about the past of the mystic Ice Palace, Xian Shan's expression turned solemn immediately. He said in a deep voice, "Tianhun, keep these things to yourself. Don't spread them around." "I understand." Mo Qingyun nodded in response. He started to think about the relationship between Mo Ling and the Ling family of the mystic Ice Palace. Sister Mo Ling was adopted by second aunt more than 20 years ago. Calculating the time, it was around the time of Nangong Yu's rebellion. Mo Qingyun thought to himself. In the process of thinking, Mo Qingyun's expression changed rapidly. He thought to himself, more than 10 years ago, Ling Fangtian Tenchu regained the position of Palace Master. However, he did not immediately bring Sister Mo Ling back. He must have been building up his confidence and stabilizing his position. It was only a few years ago when his position was stabilized that he ordered people to bring Sister Mo Ling back. With this thought, Mo Qingyun immediately understood what was going on. However, another doubt soon appeared in Mo Qingyun's mind. 20 years ago, Yu Qianni should have been an ordinary inner disciple. Why would he bring Mo Ling to the Xia kingdom? When this question appeared, Mo Qingyun was puzzled. He asked Xian Shan, "Master, I heard that Princess Ling of the Mystic Ice Palace was brought back to the Mystic Ice Palace by Yu Qianni, an inner disciple of the Evil Spirit Peak. Could it be that the people of the Evil Spirit Peak are the confidants of the Ling family? You actually know about this?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xian Shan was immediately shocked. He said in a deep voice, "Back then, when Palace Master Ling Fangtian was escaping, in order to protect Princess Ling Ling and young Lord Ling Yu, he ordered some elders and disciples to escape separately with a baby. This was to confuse Nangong Yu's forces. Princess Ling Ling was brought away by Yu Qianni. I see. After listening to Xian Shan's explanation, Mo Qingyun understood a lot. Next, he chatted with Xian Shan for a while before leaving his residence. After leaving Xian Shan's residence, Mo Qingyun did not return to the Golden Curtain Mansion. Instead, he went to the Chor Hall. He wanted to see if Sun Quan, Luo Renji, and the others had transferred the sect points they lost to him into his identity card. When he arrived at the Chor Hall, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately checked his sect points. 10,00400 sect points. When Mo Qingyun saw his sect points, a bright smile immediately appeared on his face. He became a little excited. Now that he had enough sect points, he could exchange for the Millennium Ice Lotus and return to Dian Province to save Ruoshui. Then, Mo Qingyun did not delay any longer and immediately walked to the exchange area in the Chor Hall. Deacon, I want to exchange for the Millennium Ice Lotus. When he arrived at the exchange area, Mo Qingyun took out his identity card and handed it to the deacon in charge of the exchange. Mo Tianhun. After receiving Mo Qingyun's identity card, the deacon was shocked. He looked at Mo Qingyun and said in surprise, You are the Yuan Dan Stage 5 cultivation, Mo Qingyun, who has comprehended 4 types of ultimacy to the completion stage? Yes, I am. Mo Qingyun nodded and said with a faint smile, Deacon, please exchange for the Millennium Ice Lotus for me. Okay, I will exchange it for you right away. When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, the deacon was stunned. He immediately began to exchange for the Millennium Ice Lotus for Mo Qingyun. After a while, a lotus as white as snow was handed from the deacon's hand to Mo Qingyun. When the lotus as white as snow entered Mo Qingyun's hand, it emitted a strong chill. This was the Millennium Ice Lotus, no doubt about it. Now that I have the Millennium Ice Lotus, it is time to return to Dian Province. With this thought, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He put away the Millennium Ice Lotus and walked out of the Chor Hall. Chapter 402. Mo Qingyun did not intend to tell Xian Shan that he had left the mysterious Ice Palace. Mo Qingyun knew that he had offended Babing Peak. If Xian Shan knew that he wanted to leave the mysterious Ice Palace, he would not agree. Even if he agreed to let him leave the mysterious Ice Palace, Xian Shan would definitely send someone to protect him. Once Xian Shan sent someone to follow Mo Qingyun, the fake identity that Mo Qingyun had told Xian Shan would be exposed. In that case, it would be impossible for Mo Qingyun to continue staying on the Rolling Curtain Peak. Not only that, but Mo Qingyun might also cause some unnecessary trouble. This was not the result that Mo Qingyun wanted to see. Therefore, he could not tell Xian Shan that he had left the mysterious Ice Palace. After a while, Mo Qingyun arrived outside the mysterious Ice Palace. When Mo Qingyun arrived outside the mystic Ice Palace, he didn't hesitate at all. He immediately stood up and walked towards the Celestial Stream River. This guy left the mysterious Ice Palace alone. This is a good opportunity to catch him. Just as Mo Qingyun was about to leave the profound Ice Palace, a figure said coldly and quietly approached him. At this moment, when the figure approached Mo Qingyun immediately noticed it. Someone is following me. Sensing that someone was tailing him, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately changed and he exclaimed in surprise. Then, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately set up a formation to protect himself. At the same time, Mo Qingyun released his soul power to check the identity of the person who was following him. Mysterious Cloud Illusory Formation, activate. Mo Qingyun raised his hand and drew. Runes immediately appeared in the air and emitted a mysterious power. After the power appeared, fog rose around Mo Qingyun and covered Mo Qingyun's body. Then, Mo Qingyun's figure disappeared from where he stood. Babing Peak's people. After using the formation to hide himself, Mo Qingyun frowned when he knew who the person was. Babing Peak thinks highly of me. They sent a Middle Heaven Star Border Elder to follow me. After learning of the other party's identity, Mo Qingyun sneered as disdain for Ba Bingfeng rose in his heart. Door of concealment. After saying this disdainful sentence, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately used the concealment door. After using the door of concealment, Mo Qingyun, who was in the illusory cloud illusory formation, disappeared and quickly left the formation. Raise your hands and set up the formation. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun quietly left, the elder of the dominating ice peak was shocked. He was surprised by Mo Qingyun's actions. Humph! You're too naive to think that a small level 4 illusory formation can stop me. After a short moment of shock, the elder of Babing Peak sneered and said disdainfully. He raised his hand and hit the illusory cloud illusory formation with his palm. Under the elder of Babing Peak's palm, the sky changed color. The wind and clouds gathered and turned into a huge handprint that blasted towards the illusory cloud illusory formation. Bang! As the palm landed, dust flew into the air. A loud sound rang out from within, and a terrifying storm of energy erupted. At the same time, the illusory cloud illusory formation was broken and returned to its original state. However, what surprised the elder of Babing Peak was that after he broke the illusory cloud illusory formation, Mo Qingyun's figure disappeared from the formation. That kid is not in the formation? Seeing this scene in front of him, Elder Ba Bingfeng's expression was shocked, and he said with a puzzled expression, "Could it be that under my palm just now, that kid has already been blasted into pieces?" At this moment, the elder of Babing Peak's heart was filled with doubts. The scene in front of him was simply too abnormal. Let's go back and tell Marshal Uncle Roba about this kid leaving the mysterious ice palace. Marshal Uncle Roba will decide what to do next. After a short moment of silence, the elder of Babing Peak did not hesitate and immediately returned to Babing Peak. With the help of the hidden door, Mo Qingyun escaped the pursuit of the elder of Babing Peak and rushed towards the Celestial Stream River. While Mo Qingyun was on his way to the Celestial Stream River, he let his doppelganger take his place and entered the Heixian Palace to cultivate. After entering the Heixian Palace, Missouri Qingyun continued to comprehend the wood ultimacy and improve his mastery of the wood ultimacy. In his previous life, his cultivation of the power of wood was only slightly weaker than his cultivation of the power of fire. Therefore, it was much easier for him to comprehend the wood ultimacy than other ultimacies. Half a day later, the doppelganger finally arrived at the dock of the Celestial Stream River. Coincidentally, a sea shark was anchored there and was ferrying guests across the river. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun immediately walked towards the dock, paid the fee, and entered the sea shark. After entering the sea shark, Mo Qingyun paid some Jindan crystals and chose a small room by himself. Now that he was a direct disciple of the mysterious ice palace, taking out some Jindan crystals would not attract the attention of others. Entering the small room by himself, Mo Qingyun began to cultivate and let his doppelganger pay attention to the sea shark's journey. Next, time passed little by little. 5 days later, Mo Qingyun's body emitted an aura of life. Under this aura of life, some of the wooden chairs in the room began to sprout tender shoots. It was like a withered tree coming back to life. Level 3 Wood Ultimacy. Mo Qingyun revealed a pleasantly surprised expression when he saw the improvement of the profundity of wood, and he exclaimed in surprise. Immediately, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and continued to comprehend the wood ultimacy. 15 days later, the aura of life on Mo Qingyun's body increased again, and it was even stronger than before. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's comprehension of the wood ultimacy had entered the level 4 ultimacy realm. Mo Qingyun was delighted that his wood ultimacy had broken through to the level 4 ultimacy realm. He worked even harder to cultivate. In this way, time passed by as Mo Qingyun cultivated. What made Mo Qingyun feel fortunate was that his journey was very smooth and he did not encounter any trouble like bandits. In the blink of an eye, 25 days had passed. After 25 days of travel, the sea shark finally crossed the Tianxi River. "We've finally reached the shore." Seeing that the ship had docked, the doppelganger in the small room was pleasantly surprised. Apart from that, Mo Qingyun was also delighted that his wood ultimacy had finally reached level 5 after 25 days of cultivation. Seeing that the sea shark had docked, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and ordered his doppelganger to disembark and return to Flame Capital. His doppelganger disembarked from the sea shark and returned to Flame Capital without stopping. A month and a half later, a huge city appeared in front of him. He had arrived at Flame Capital. What a pity, just a little bit more and my wood ultimacy would have reached level 7. Mo Qingyun revealed a trace of regret when he saw Yen Du. He felt that it was a pity. Immediately, Mo Qingyun stopped cultivating and switched places with his doppelganger. Chapter 403. After a while, Mo Qingyun returned to the Tianyan mansion. "Qingyun, you're finally willing to come back." When Mo Qingyun walked into the Tianyan mansion, an excited voice entered his ears. Then, Mo Qingyun saw a familiar face walking toward him quickly. The person who was walking toward Mo Qingyun was Mo Qingyun's fourth uncle, Mo Feilin. What surprised Mo Qingyun was that Mo Feilin was carrying a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes in his arms. Looking at the baby in Mo Feilin's arms, Mo Qingyun was stunned. He asked in surprise, "Fourth uncle, who's this child?" "This is my daughter, Mo Jimon. Look at her. Does she look like me?" Hearing Mo Qingyun talking about the baby in his arms, Mo Feilin immediately became excited and said joyfully, "Daughter? My cousin?" Hearing Mo Feilin's words, Mo Qingyun was stunned again. He was surprised by the baby's identity. He did not expect that after leaving for more than 8 months, he would have a cousin when he returned to the Tianyan mansion. "Qingyun, you're back." When Mo Qingyun and Mo Feilin were talking, Mo Hongtian and the others saw that Mo Qingyun had returned and walked toward him. "Brat, you're finally willing to come back." Mo Xian walked up to Mo Qingyun with a sly smile on her face. She whispered in Mo Qingyun's ear, "If you didn't come back, I'm afraid your sister Han Yen would be lovesick." Hearing Mo Xian's words, Mo Qingyun's face turned red. His expression became awkward. Then, everyone started to talk and ask about the situation. After talking to everyone, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly. He was very satisfied with the current situation in the Tianyan mansion. Now, Mo Hongtian, Mo Feipeng, and the others had all broken through to Yuandan realm. Mo Hongtian's cultivation had reached the second stage of Yuandan realm. As for the younger generation of the Mo family, their cultivation had basically entered the true energy boundary. In addition, talented juniors like Mo Xian had entered the high level of the true energy realm and were steadily advancing towards the Yuandan realm. At this moment, Du Luo and the others were concentrating on alchemy. Their alchemist level had also improved a lot. All of them had reached the 5th grade alchemist realm. "Grandpa, where is my father?" After chatting and laughing with everyone, Mo Qingyun noticed that Mo Feiyu was nowhere to be seen, so he asked Mo Hongtian. "Feiyu's cultivation has just broken through to the Pill Palace. He is currently in seclusion to stabilize his cultivation." Mo Hongtian smiled happily as he replied to Mo Qingyun. He was obviously very satisfied with Mo Feiyu's improvement in cultivation. "Father's cultivation has broken through to the Pill Palace." Hearing Mo Hongtian's words, Mo Qingyun was pleasantly surprised. He was extremely happy with this result. After that, Mo Qingyun chatted with Mo Hongtian and the others for a while before returning to his residence. On the way back, Mo Qingyun sent a message to Qi Lian, asking him to come and see him immediately. After a while, Qi Lian arrived at Emo Qingyun's residence. What surprised Emo Qingyun was that Tang Zhan had also come along. This old servant greets the young lord. Tang Zhan greets the young lord. The two of them walked into Emo Qingyun's residence and bowed respectfully to Emo Qingyun. No need for formalities. Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and waved his hand at the two of them. He asked, Qi Lian, during this period of time, did the Ling family do anything out of the ordinary? Replying to young lord, during this period of time, Tang Zhan has been sending people to monitor the Ling family. The Ling family did not do anything out of the ordinary. Qi Lian replied with a serious expression. He frowned slightly and his tone changed. However, at the academy, the younger generation of the Lung family has been targeting your friends. The younger generation of the Lung family. Hearing Qi Lian's words, Emo Qingyun's expression changed. His face turned cold as he asked, Brother Lu, did anything happen to them? Under the attacks of the younger generation of the Lung family, little friend Lu and the others are often injured. Fortunately, their injuries are not very serious. Qi Lian's expression was cold as he reported to Emo Qingyun. He then said, later, Tang Zhan asked the younger generation of the Blood Refining Hall to stop the actions of the younger generation of the Ling family. At present, the younger generation of the Ling family has restrained themselves a little. And, hearing Qi Lian's words, Emo Qingyun's expression eased a little. He then said, Now, where are Brother Lu and the others? Qi Lian said, In the side residence. I'll go to the side residence to take a look. After Emo Qingyun's words fell, he no longer hesitated and immediately got up and went to the side residence. Soon, Emo Qingyun arrived at the side residence. At this moment, Yi Wuyo and the others were all here. As soon as he walked into the side residence, Emo Qingyun's face turned gloomy, and his body emitted a strong chill. Therefore, Emo Qingyun found that at this moment, Ling Luo and the others had some obvious injuries on their bodies. Qingyun, you're back. Boss, you're finally back. As soon as they saw Emo Qingyun's arrival, everyone was immediately surprised and greeted Emo Qingyun. Mang Hai, greetings to Mr. Emo. When everyone greeted Emo Qingyun, a strong young man showed a respectful expression and bowed to Emo Qingyun. And, hearing this person's words, Emo Qingyun nodded in response. He knew that this young man should be the younger generation of the Blood Refining Hall. After responding to everyone, Emo Qingyun showed a concerned expression and asked Lu Fengliang and the others, Brother Lu, Ling Luo, how are your injuries? Lu Fengliang smiled faintly and waved his hand at Emo Qingyun. He replied, Don't worry, it's just some superficial wounds. Ling Luo said indignantly, Humph. These bastards only know how to bully others. If we were at the same cultivation level, I would definitely torture them to death. Qingyun, in the future, you have to be careful of the people from Jade Peak Hall in the academy. Long Yutian's expression was serious as he reminded Emo Qingyun. Ling Hui from Jade Peak Hall knows that you killed Ling Yang and has already ordered them to attack you regardless of the consequences. If they know that you're back, they will definitely seek revenge. Hearing Long Yutian's words, Emo Qingyun's expression turned cold. He said coldly, Don't worry. Even if they don't find trouble with me, I will still find them. At this moment, Long Hanyan showed a concerned expression and asked Emo Qingyun, Qingyun, you left Flame City this time and went to the prefecture to look for the 1,000-year frost lotus. Have you found it? I have found the 1,000-year frost lotus. Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and replied to Long Hanyan. He said to everyone, We'll talk about the Jade Peak Hall later. Now let's go to the Pill Hall and find Elder Xian Yi to refine the Ice Purity Golden Pill to save Ruoshui. Really? That's great. Ruoshui can be saved now. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, everyone was pleasantly surprised, and they all spoke excitedly. Alright, let's go to the Pill Hall now. Chapter 404. After an hour, Mo Qingyun and the others arrived at the pill hall, where Elder Dan Xianyi was staying. Senior brother Qingyun, you're back. Seeing Mo Qingyun's arrival, Wang Zishu's face was immediately filled with joy as she spoke in surprise. Senior brother? Hearing how Wang Zishu addressed him, Mo Qingyun's expression changed. He was a little surprised by Wang Zishu's words. Yes, I just came back. However, at this moment, Mo Qingyun did not think too much about it. He replied with a faint smile and asked, Zishu, is Elder Xianyi here? Master, she's unblocking Ruo Shui's meridians and dispelling the poison in her body. Wang Zishu's face was filled with sorrow as she replied to Mo Qingyun. Her mood instantly dropped by a lot. During this period of time, she had been taking care of Ruo Shui. When she thought of Ruo Shui's current state, she naturally felt uncomfortable. Seeing Wang Zishu's expression, Mo Qingyun's expression also became heavier. He comforted Wang Zishu, don't be sad. I've already found the 1,000-year ice lotus. Next, I just need to refine the icy purity golden pill and Ruo Shui will be cured. You've found the 1,000-year ice lotus? Really? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wang Zishu's face immediately filled with joy as she spoke in surprise. Yes. Mo Qingyun nodded and said with a faint smile, let's go and see Elder Xianyi. I need her help to refine the icy purity golden pill. Alright, I'll bring you to see Master now. Wang Zishu nodded and brought Mo Qingyun to Ruo Shui's room to look for Elder Xianyi. Soon, Mo Qingyun and the others arrived at Ruo Shui's room. At this moment, Elder Xianyi had just stood up and covered Ruo Shui with a blanket. It seemed like she had just helped Ruo Shui clear her meridians and dispelled the poison in her body. Mo Qingyun greets Elder Xianyi. Yi Weo greets Elder Xianyi. When Mo Qingyun and the rest walked into the house, they all revealed respectful expressions and bowed to Elder Xianyi one after another. There's no need for such formalities. In response to the actions of Mo Qingyun and the others, Xianyi faintly smiled and waved her hand. Qingyun, you're back. However, when Elder Xianyi saw Mo Qingyun, her eyes lit up and she asked in surprise, have you found the 1,000-year ice lotus? Elder Xianyi, I've found the 1,000-year ice lotus. Mo Qingyun's expression was solemn as he nodded in response. I came to find you now because I want to ask you to help me gather the other materials for the Ice Dew Gold Pill and help me refine the Ice Dew Gold Pill. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Elder Xianyi also revealed a look of pleasant surprise as she said joyfully, you really found the 1,000-year ice lotus. Mo Qingyun nodded. When she saw Mo Qingyun's expression, Elder Xianyi's expression turned solemn, and she said anxiously, all of you wait for me here. I'll go gather the other materials and refine the Icy Dew Gold Pill with you. After Elder Xianyi finished speaking, she immediately got up and walked out of the house without hesitation. Thank you for your trouble, Elder Xianyi. Mo Qingyun revealed a look of gratitude as he thanked Xianyi. Before long, Elder Xianyi brought the rest of the refining materials back to the small house. When she arrived at the small house, Elder Xianyi said to Mo Qingyun, Qingyun, I've gathered the materials. Let's go to my refining room and refine the Ice Dew Golden Pill together. Okay. Mo Qingyun nodded and turned to Lu Fengliang and the rest, saying, Brother Lu, Elder Xianyi and I will refine the Ice Dew Golden Pill. You guys continue to stay here. Okay. Lu Fengliang and the rest answered. After a short moment, Mo Qingyun followed Elder Xianyi to her alchemy room. The moment he walked into Elder Xianyi's refining room, Mo Qingyun felt a surge of flame energy emerging from the ground. This refining room is actually built on the Earth's core lava. After discovering this, Mo Qingyun revealed a look of surprise. He was a little surprised by the location of Elder Xianyi's refining room. This way, when refining pills, one could borrow the flame energy of the Earth's core lava to increase the efficiency of refining pills. While Mo Qingyun was surprised, Elder Xianyi said to him, Qingyun, let's begin. Okay. Mo Qingyun answered and took out the 1,000-year ice lotus from his universe bag. When Mo Qingyun took out the 1,000-year ice lotus, Elder Xian Yi also took out various refining materials and placed them neatly beside the 1,000-year ice lotus. Seeing that all the refining materials were taken out, Mo Qingyun revealed a serious expression and said to Elder Xian Yi, "Elder Xian Yi, help me stabilize the flame later. I will refine the pill." "You will refine the pill?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Elder Xian Yi immediately revealed a look of surprise. She was a little surprised by Mo Qingyun's words. After a short moment of surprise, Elder Xian Yi's expression turned serious. She said in a deep voice, "Qingyun, the materials for the ice-dew golden pill are not easy to come by. When refining the pill, you can't be careless. How confident are you in refining the pill?" At this time, Mo Qingyun was no longer modest and replied without holding back, "If I were to refine the pill by myself, then I would only have a 60% chance of success. However, with Elder Xian Yi's help, then I would have a 90% chance." 90%. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Elder Xian Yi's expression immediately changed. She was extremely shocked by Mo Qingyun's reply. If an ordinary disciple had said this, Elder Xian Yi would have immediately reprimanded him and told him not to mess around. However, Mo Qingyun's words at this moment caused Elder Xian Yi to inexplicably trust him. In Elder Xian Yi's opinion, given the relationship between Mo Qingyun and Ruoshui, he would definitely not treat it so lightly. Therefore, since Mo Qingyun said this, he should be very confident. After all, this was not a joke. After a short moment of shock, Elder Xian Yi's expression turned serious. She asked Mo Qingyun, "Are you really 90% confident?" "Yes." Mo Qingyun nodded with a serious expression and comforted her. "Elder Xian Yi, don't worry. I will not joke around with Ruoshui's life." With regards to Elder Xian Yi's thoughts, Mo Qingyun was very clear in his heart. She was worried that with his ability, he would not be able to refine the purity ice jade dew gold pill. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Elder Xian Yi did not say anything more. She decided to believe in Mo Qingyun. After all, even if she was the one refining the pill, she only had a 50% chance of successfully refining the purity ice jade dew gold pill. Following this, Elder Xian Yi injected a yuan power flame into the pill furnace to help Mo Qingyun smelt the pill refining ingredient. Seeing that Elder Xian Yi had injected yuan power flame into the pill furnace, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He threw the pill refining ingredients into the pill furnace one by one. After throwing the ingredients into the pill furnace one by one, Mo Qingyun quickly formed a hand seal and injected it into the yuan power flame in the pill furnace. Following this, the yuan power flame in the pill furnace quickly transformed into the shape of little bird. Once these little bird-shaped flames appeared, they immediately flew together and refined the pill refining ingredients in the pill furnace. This is the 100 birds competing hand that has been lost for thousands of years. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Elder Xian Yi's face immediately revealed a shocked expression and her eyes widened. Mo Qingyun's actions at this moment had truly shocked her. It was something that she had never expected. Chapter 405. Next, as time passed, the shock on Elder Xian Yi's face became more and more intense. That was because she had actually seen Mo Qingyun use over 10 different alchemy techniques in the past few hours. More importantly, most of these refining techniques were ones that she had never seen before. After this discovery, Elder Xian Yi then knew how terrifying Mo Qingyun's refining skills were. Just like that, another 2 hours passed. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's hand gestures changed again. His hands moved quickly, and at the same time, he hit the furnace fire in the elixir cauldron. Immediately after, the furnace fire in the elixir cauldron turned into 2 fire dragons, swimming quickly in the elixir cauldron. Under the movement of the two fire dragons, the elixir ingredients in the elixir cauldron were quickly condensed into elixirs. As the elixir ingredients condensed into elixirs, the two fire dragons surrounded the elixir cauldron and played around mischievously. This is the legendary two dragons playing with a pearl. Looking at the two fire dragons in the elixir cauldron, Elder Xian Ye's expression instantly froze. She could not believe that this was real. Mo Qingyun had actually mastered the legendary two dragons playing with a pearl. Moreover, he had mastered it so skillfully. This scene to her was really too shocking and too unbelievable. At this moment, while Xian Yi was still in shock, the two fire dragons in the elixir cauldron entered the elixir cauldron one after another. At the same time, a strong elixir fragrance instantly filled the room. When the elixir fragrance came out, it meant that the icy dew golden pill was completed. Seeing that the icy dew golden pill was successfully refined, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and raised his hand to take the elixir cauldron. Once the elixir cauldron was in his hand, Mo Qingyun felt an icy cold feeling, and it emitted a very holy aura. The perfect grade icy dew golden pill. Looking at the elixir cauldron in Mo Qingyun's hand, Xian Ye's expression immediately changed. She was quite shocked by this scene. Elder Xian Yi, the elixir cauldron has been successfully refined. Let's give it to Ruoshui. Seeing that the purity jade pill was successfully refined, Mo Qingyun spoke to Elder Xian Yi before walking out of the alchemy room. Seeing this, Elder Xian Yi didn't hesitate any longer and followed Mo Qingyun out of the alchemy room. Moments later, Mo Qingyun and Luo Shui arrived at Ruoshui's room. The moment they saw Mo Qingyun return, the expressions of Lu Fengliang and the rest immediately changed. They hurriedly asked Mo Qingyun, "Qingyun, was the medicinal pill refinement successful?" "Yes, it's done." Mo Qingyun nodded in response. He walked to Ruoshui's bedside and gave her the purity ice jade dew gold pill. After Ruoshui swallowed the crystal ice jade dew gold pill, her face immediately turned for the better, and there was a bit of rosy color. This meant that the crystallized ice dew golden pill had taken effect, and the poison in Ruoshui was beginning to be neutralized. Seeing this, everyone's expressions immediately loosened, and a faint smile appeared on their faces. Seeing that the poison in Ruoshui's body was beginning to be neutralized, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile. He waved his hand at everyone and said, "Let's go out first. When Ruoshui wakes up, there shouldn't be any problems." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Lu Fengliang and the rest didn't stay any longer. They all walked out of Ruoshui's room. "Elder Xian Yi will take our leave first. Please take care of Ruoshui." After walking out of Ruoshui's room, Mo Qingyun bid farewell to Elder Xian Yi and left the pill hall. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun and the rest were about to leave the pill hall, a group of people suddenly walked towards them and blocked their path. The people who blocked the path of Mo Qingyun and the rest revealed a cold smile as they sized up Lu Fengliang and the rest. "Lung Ju, what are you trying to do?" Seeing that their path was blocked by the people in front of them, Mang Hai immediately spoke with anger. "Mang Hai, this matter has nothing to do with your blood prison cliff. Don't meddle in other people's business." Hearing Mang Hai's words, Ling Ju revealed a cold smile and said with disdain, "The current you is no longer the number one expert on the heaven ranking. You better restrain yourself in the future. Otherwise, don't blame our Jade Peak Hall for being impolite to your blood prison cliff. If you want to touch my blood prison cliff, feel free to try." Hearing Ling Ju's words, Mang Hai's expression turned gloomy. He replied without backing down, "Brother Lu, are they the ones who injured you?" At this moment, Mo Qingyun revealed a cold expression as he asked Lu Fengliang. "That's right. It's these despicable people." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, without waiting for Lu Fengliang to speak, Ling Luo, who was at the side, felt indignant. "Yo, I've never seen this kid before. Is he new to the Carefree Pavilion?" At this moment, while Emo Qingyun was speaking, Ling Ju looked at Emo Qingyun with a cold smile and said, "Kid, if you don't want to get into trouble, kneel down and call me Grandpa. Then, leave the carefree pavilion and I can overlook your mistake." Emo Qingyun ignored Ling Ju's words. Instead, he looked at Mang Hai with an indifferent expression and said coldly, "Mang Hai, break each of their arms as punishment for injuring Brother Lu and the others." "Did you hear that? This kid wants Mang Hai to attack us. Is he joking?" Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Ling Ju immediately revealed a mocking expression. He looked at Emo Qingyun with eyes full of disdain. After mocking Emo Qingyun, Ling Ju revealed a mocking expression and said disdainfully to Emo Qingyun, "Kid, from what I hear, you seem to want to avenge them?" "That's right." Emo Qingyun replied indifferently and didn't say anything more. He said to Mang Hai, who had a worried expression, "Mang Hai, immediately break each of their arms. Don't worry, I'll take responsibility if anything happens." Emo Qingyun could tell that Ling Ju and the others had extraordinary identities. It was normal for Mang Hai to have some concerns after hearing this. After all, Mang Hai was only a genius disciple of the Blood Refining Hall. He couldn't bear the consequences of causing too much trouble. Yes. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Mang Hai no longer hesitated. He immediately walked toward Ling Ju and the others with a cold smile. Since Emo Qingyun had said so, what else did he have to worry about? This was a good opportunity to get on Emo Qingyun's good side. He couldn't miss it just like that. If he could get on Emo Qingyun's good side, he would definitely receive a lot of guidance in the Blood Refining Hall in the future. After all, even the Hall Master of the Blood Refining Hall, Tang Zhan, had to call Emo Qingyun young lord when he saw him. "Mang Hai, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to provoke a conflict between the Blood Refining Hall and the Ling family?" Seeing Mang Hai's actions, Ling Ju and the others' expressions immediately turned grave. Mang Hai was an expert ranked third on the Sky list. He definitely wasn't someone that they, who were ranked below the 30th, could fight. If Mang Hai really wanted to deal with them, there was no need to even think about their fate. They would definitely have their arms crippled. "What am I trying to do? Of course I'm going to break one of your arms." Chapter 406. Hearing Emo Qingyun's order, Mang Hai no longer hesitated and immediately attacked Ling Ju and the others. Ghost Sea Martial Spirit appear. Mang Hai held back and summoned his martial spirit, completing the soul transformation in an instant. Then, Ling Ju and the others were swallowed by a black sea and disappeared. Top grade 12 Martial Spirit, Ghost Sea Martial Spirit. Seeing Mang Hai's martial spirit, Emo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. He was surprised by Mang Hai's martial spirit. Under normal circumstances, a martial artist's martial spirit was mainly a demonic beast martial spirit. A natural martial spirit like Mang Hai's was rare. Crack crack crack, while Emo Qingyun was still in shock, the crisp sound of bones breaking came from the black sea of ghosts. Bang 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 then, Emo Qingyun saw several figures flying out from the sea of ghosts. These people were Ling Ju and the others who were swallowed by the sea of ghosts. At this moment, Ling Ju and the others' faces were pale. One of their arms was hanging limply, probably crippled by Mang Hai. After crippling Ling Ju and the others' arms, Mang Hai removed the soul transformation and returned to Emo Qingyun's side. Emo Qingyun's expression turned cold when he saw that Ling Ju and the others' arms had been crippled. He said coldly, "I've crippled one of your arms this time as a warning. If there's a next time, then you won't be returning standing." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Ling Ju and the others' faces darkened. They said coldly, "Kid, who are you? Why are you interfering in our business?" Hearing Ling Ju's words, Ling Luo sneered, "Ling Ju, aren't you looking for my boss?" "He's my boss, Missouri Qingyun." "You're Emo Qingyun." Hearing Ling Luo's words, Ling Ju was shocked and looked at Emo Qingyun in shock. After sizing up Emo Qingyun for a while, Ling Ju gnashed his teeth and said viciously, Mo Qingyun, I will remember today's grudge. In the future, I will definitely pay you back tenfold. Let's go. After saying those harsh words, Ling Ju left with the people behind him with an unwilling expression. Seeing that Ling Ju and the others had left, Mo Qingyun did not plan to stay any longer. He said to Lu Fengliang and the others, You guys go back first. I'll make a trip to the Wind Hall. Currently, Mo Qingyun's cultivation base had already broken through to the peak of the 5th level of Yuan Dan stage. Although on the surface he was only Yuan Dan stage 4, he had already reached the standard to be promoted to the Earth class. Therefore, he had to find Lin Tang to promote him to the Earth class. Seeing that Mo Qingyun wanted to go to the Wind Hall, Long Hanyan blushed. She walked to Mo Qingyun's side and whispered, Qingyun, I'll go with you. Seeing Long Hanyan's action, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and nodded. Seeing Long Hanyan and Mo Qingyun's action, Yi Wuyo and the others looked at them meaningfully and said something meaningful. After teasing Mo Qingyun and Ling Ju, Yi Wuyo and the others did not stay any longer and returned to the Tianyan mansion. Let's go. Seeing that Yi Wuyo and the others had left, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly at Long Hanyan and gently held Long Hanyan's hand. Seeing that her hand was held by Mo Qingyun, Long Hanyan blushed and did not dare to raise her head to look at Mo Qingyun. However, although Long Hanyan had a bashful expression on her face, she did not break free from Mo Qingyun's hand, and allowed Mo Qingyun to hold her hand. Next, Mo Qingyun held Long Hanyan's hand and headed to the Wind Hall together. On the way, some students saw Mo Qingyun's action and immediately looked at Mo Qingyun with envy. Long Hanyan, one of the 3 great beauties of Flame City, was actually holding hands with Mo Qingyun. This was really too enviable. Seeing everyone's gazes, Long Hanyan was immediately embarrassed. Her face turned even redder and she looked like a red apple. She was incomparably cute. Hanyan, you're so beautiful. Seeing Long Hanyan's appearance, Mo Qingyun revealed a gentle gaze and praised her. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long Hanyan revealed a sweet smile. She looked at Mo Qingyun and said shyly, Let's go quickly. There are so many people watching. You're making me embarrassed. Seeing Long Hanyan's girly actions, Mo Qingyun immediately smiled. He held Long Hanyan's hand tightly and quickly headed to the Wind Hall. A moment later, Mo Qingyun and Long Hanyan arrived at the Wind Hall. After arriving at the Wind Hall, Long Hanyan pulled her hand out of Mo Qingyun's hand with a shy expression and said softly, Go find the Hall Master. I'll wait for you in the Earth class. As soon as Long Hanyan finished speaking, a shy expression appeared on her face, and she quickly walked away. Mo Qingyun didn't say much about Long Hanyan's actions. He could understand Long Hanyan's thoughts. Following which, Mo Qingyun headed to Lin Tang's residence to let him carry out the class advancement. After a while, Mo Qingyun arrived at Lin Tang's residence. At this moment, Lin Tang was flipping through books in the small courtyard. Seeing Mo Qingyun's arrival, he immediately revealed a happy expression and said, You're finally back. If you didn't come back, I would have gone to the Jin province to catch you. Haha. Hearing Lin Tang's words, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled and felt a strong sense of concern. During this period of time, you went to the Jin province to search for the Millennium Frost Lotus. Did it delay your cultivation? Lin Tang walked in front of Mo Qingyun and pretended to be serious as he sized up Mo Qingyun and said solemnly, 10 days later, it will be the annual class and year battles. If you don't get first place in the newcomer king battle, I won't let you off. Lin Tang was very clear about Mo Qingyun's strength. If there were no accidents, he would definitely get first place in the newcomer king battle. First place in the newcomer king battle? Hearing Lin Tang's words, Mo Qingyun revealed a bitter smile and shook his head. Master, my cultivation has already advanced to the 4th level of the Yuan Dan realm. I came here to find you because I want you to help me advance to the next class. What? Your cultivation has advanced to the 4th level of the Yuan Dan realm? Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Lin Tang was shocked and looked at Emo Qingyun in disbelief. Emo Qingyun's answer at this moment really shocked him, causing him to feel very surprised in his heart. When Emo Qingyun left, his cultivation had just advanced to the 2nd level of the Yuan Dan realm. Now, in just 8 months, he had advanced to the 4th level of the Yuan Dan realm. This kind of cultivation speed was a little frightening. In 4 months, his cultivation had advanced to the next level. This kind of cultivation speed was really unattainable. It really is the 4th level of the Yuan Dan realm. After a short period of shock, Lin Tang sensed Emo Qingyun's aura and confirmed Emo Qingyun's cultivation. Then, Lin Tang revealed a bitter smile and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Little brat, can't you wait a little longer to advance to the 4th level of the Yuan Dan realm? Hearing Lin Tang's words, Emo Qingyun couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't know what to say. If Lin Tang knew that his cultivation had already reached the peak of the 5th level of the Yuan Dan realm, his expression would probably be even more colorful. Seeing Emo Qingyun's stunned expression, Lin Tang continued, I was counting on you to take first place in this year's Newcomer King battle. Now that your cultivation has advanced to the 4th level of the Yuan Dan realm, how are you going to participate in the Newcomer King battle? Chapter 407. Master, even if you can't get first place in the battle of the new generation, it's still the same if you can get first place in the Earth cohort. Looking at the disappointed Lin Tang, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and comforted him. In fact, in Emo Qingyun's heart, his real goal wasn't to get first place in the Earth cohort, but to get first place in the Academy tournament. However, getting first place in the Academy was too difficult for Lin Tang to accept. Therefore, Emo Qingyun only told him to get first place in the Earth cohort. First place in the Earth cohort? Hearing this, Lin Tang's eyes immediately lit up. He was pleasantly surprised, and his expression was filled with anticipation. When Emo Qingyun was at Yuan Dan's 2nd layer, he was able to defeat Lu Yanjun, who was ranked 8th on the Earth leaderboard, in a domineering manner. Now that Emo Qingyun's cultivation had risen to Yuan Dan 4th layer, it wasn't impossible for him to get first place in the Earth cohort. After a short moment of surprise, Lin Tang's expression became dispirited. He sighed and said, It's just that in this period of time, the strength of the students on the Earth leaderboard is no longer what it used to be. With Lu Yanjun's strength back then, he probably wouldn't even be able to enter the top 20. It won't be easy for you to get first place in the Earth cohort. Everything depends on effort. How would I know if I don't try? Hearing Lin Tang's words, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and said something that didn't seem to mind. He then said, Master, what is Lan Ao Senior from the Wind Hall's Earth cohort rank now? Lan Ao's cultivation had already broken through to Yuan Dan's 7th layer a month ago. Hearing Emo Qingyun mention Lan Ao, Lin Tang once again revealed a bitter smile. He sighed and said, AI? I'm afraid our Wind Hall has no hope of winning the Academy tournament at the end of the year. I hope we won't lose too badly. If those guys know that your cultivation has also broken through to Yuan Dan 4th layer, I'm afraid they'll laugh at me again. Lin Tang's face was gloomy as he smiled bitterly again. Emo Qingyun didn't say much about Lin Tang's behavior. He only revealed a playful smile. From Emo Qingyun's point of view, there wasn't much meaning to it now. Everything would naturally be revealed during the Academy competition. After that, Emo Qingyun and Lin Tang chatted for a while before leaving Lin Tang's residence. As for Emo Qingyun's advancement, Lin Tang had already instructed his men to help Emo Qingyun advance. After leaving Lin Tang's residence, Emo Qingyun headed towards the Earth grade class to find Long Hanyan and leave together. A moment later, Emo Qingyun arrived at the Earth class. This brat is here again. Seeing Emo Qingyun's arrival, Everyone in the Earth class immediately looked at Mo Qingyun in awe. The memory of Mo Qingyun heavily injuring Ling Yang last time was still fresh in their minds. They still remembered Mo Qingyun's tyranny. Immediately after, Mo Qingyun walked towards Long Hanyan with a faint smile under everyone's respectful gazes. Qingyun, have you completed your advancement? Seeing Mo Qingyun walk closer, Long Hanyan revealed a sweet smile and asked Mo Qingyun, "Grade advancement?" Hearing Long Hanyan's words, the expressions of the surrounding people immediately became startled. The gazes with which they looked at Mo Qingyun became even more respectful. Mo Qingyun wanted to complete his grade advancement. Didn't that mean that Mo Qingyun was going to come to the Earth grade class? However, Mo Qingyun only entered Dian province a year ago. At that time, Mo Qingyun's cultivation wasn't even at the Yuan Dan stage. In a year's time, his cultivation rose from the true energy stage to the 4th stage of the Yuan Dan stage. What kind of cultivation speed was this? At this moment, everyone's minds were confused. They felt that their brains weren't enough to process this. Yes, it's completed. Mo Qingyun nodded. He smiled faintly at Long Hanyan and said, "Let's go out for a walk." Yes. Long Hanyan's face was slightly red. She lowered her head and responded. Then, she followed Mo Qingyun and left the Earth class. Qingyun, in a few days, it will be grandfather's 100th birthday. I plan to buy something for him. Can you accompany me to choose? After walking out of the Earth class, Long Hanyan's face revealed a look of anticipation. Mo Qingyun made a request to her. "Little fool, between you and me, there's no need to be so polite." Seeing Long Hanyan's expression of anticipation, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled. He revealed a doting smile to her. "Qingyun, thank you." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long Hanyan immediately revealed a smile. She revealed a joyful expression. She was charming and charming. Then, Long Hanyan unconsciously raised her hand and grabbed Mo Qingyun's hand. She shyly said, "I heard that the Burning Heavens auction house is holding an auction today. Let's go take a look." "Okay." Hearing Long Hanyan's words, Mo Qingyun nodded. His expression couldn't help but change. He followed Long Hanyan to the Burning Heavens auction house. A moment later, Mo Qingyun and Long Hanyan arrived at the Burning Heavens auction house. "Mo Qingyun, it's actually you." At this moment, when Mo Qingyun and Long Hanyan entered the auction house, a gloomy voice sounded in his ears. As these words sounded, Mo Qingyun saw several young men walking towards him with gloomy expressions. Mo Qingyun wasn't unfamiliar with a few of these young men. They were Ling Chong, Ling Ju, and the others. However, at this moment, Ling Chong and the others respected the black-faced young man in front of them. "You're that Mo Qingyun?" The black-faced young man sized up Mo Qingyun and said coldly. He then said, "Brat, you've got guts. You even dared to touch someone from the Lung family. Are the people from the Lung family very noble?" In response to the black-faced young man's words, Mo Qingyun looked at him with disdain and replied with disdain. He then said, "Since they dared to touch others, then they should be prepared for revenge." "That's true, but there are some people that you can't take revenge on as you wish." Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the black-faced young man bit his lips and looked at Mo Qingyun with a sinister smile. "Now that you've hurt someone from the Lung family, the Lung family's revenge isn't something you can handle. Is that so?" "I don't think so." Mo Qingyun smiled indifferently at the dark-skinned young man's words and replied indifferently, "That's right." He didn't even care about a Heaven Star border expert like Lung Wanhai, so why would he care about the words of a junior like Yuan Dan? "You're really arrogant. However, now that Mang Hai isn't here, I'd like to see who can protect you." As soon as the black-faced young man finished speaking, his face darkened and he directly raised his hand to grab Mo Qingyun. "Lung Hui, stop." Upon seeing the black-faced young man's actions, Long Hanyun's face turned cold and she said coldly, "This is the Burning Sky auction house. Don't forget the rules here." "So it's little sister Han Yen. It's not good for you to protect this brat like this." Upon hearing Long Hanyun's words, the black-faced young man laughed sinisterly and said coldly, "Brat, I'll let you off this time on account of little sister Han Yen. However, in the academy competition 10 days later, your carefree pavilion's brats will be waiting for our Jade Peak Hall's revenge. The same goes for all of you." In response to Ling Hui's words, Mo Qingyun didn't back down and replied, "Haha." Chapter 408. Let's Go Too. Seeing that Ling Hui and the others had walked far away, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly at Long Hanyan and walked towards the Burning Heavens auction house. Mo Qingyun and Xiao Yan entered the auction house. A receptionist smiled and asked Mo Qingyun enthusiastically, "Young master, may I ask if you want to bid for items or auction items?" Hearing the other party's words, Mo Qingyun thought for a moment and replied, "Auction some items first, then bid for some items." At this moment, Mo Qingyun was planning to get rid of some of the items that he didn't need from the extermination of the sect. "Young master, please follow me." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the receptionist made a gesture of invitation and led the way with a warm smile. A moment later, under the guidance of the receptionist, Mo Qingyun and Xiao Yan arrived at the auction room. "Old Xiao, this young master wants to auction items." Arriving at the room, the receptionist reported to an old man in the room with a respectful expression. Old Xiao nodded at the receptionist and waved his hand. "All right, there's nothing for you to do here. You can leave first." "Yes." The receptionist responded and bowed before leaving the room. "Young master, please take a seat." Old Xiao sized up Mo Qingyun and Xiao Yan, smiled faintly and pointed to a chair at the side, and made a gesture of invitation. Seeing Old Zhao's action, Mo Qingyun held Long Hanyun's hand and sat down on a chair at the side. "May I know what items young master wants to auction?" Seeing Mo Qingyun sit down, Old Xiao did not beat around the bush and directly asked Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun said indifferently, "Just some ordinary items, but there are a lot of them. May I know if the Burning Heavens auction house is willing to take them?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Old Xiao was surprised and said, "Young master, don't worry. Other than the auction room, our Burning Heavens auction house also has an area for selling items. If it's convenient for young master, you can take out the items and let me take a look. If it's suitable, our auction house can buy it directly." "Alright." Hearing Old Zhao's words, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately took out a portion of the items that he was going to dispose of from his Qiankuan bag. Clang clang, following that, weapons, armors and other items instantly piled up into a small mountain in the room. Looking at the mountain of weapons, armors, and other items in front of him, Old Zhao's face immediately revealed a look of shock. But he really did not expect that there would be so many items. The number of items in front of him was probably no less than tens of thousands. Who is this young master? Looking at the pile of items in front of him, Elder Zhao's expression turned grave. He began to guess Mo Qingyun's identity. Meanwhile, while Elder Xiao was guessing Mo Qingyun's identity, Mo Qingyun said indifferently, "This is only a portion of the things I intend to sell. If Elder Xiao thinks it's alright, then I can take out the rest." "Just a part." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Old Zhao's heart trembled and his expression became even more shocked. He looked at Mo Qingyun with awe in his eyes. The value of these items already neared 10 billion spirit essence stones. Moreover, this was only a portion of what Mo Qingyun was selling. Didn't this mean that the total value of the items Mo Qingyun was selling reached a terrifying number in the tens of billions? After discovering this, Old Zhao's complexion became dignified. He said to Mo Qingyun, "Sir, the amount of items involved in this transaction is far too great. I must ask the Miss Old Xiao, please." Hearing the old man's words, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled and gestured for him to go ahead. "Sir, please wait a moment." Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Old Xiao said in a low voice and walked out of the room. After a moment, Old Xiao returned to the room. At this time, there was also a young girl in alluring clothes that followed Old Xiao into the room. This young girl was around 20 years old. Her skin was white and her features were beautiful. Her figure was provocative. She wore a flaming armor that perfectly outlined her figure. Her voluptuous body made one's imagination run wild. "Sir, you must be Mo Qingyun, Mr. Mo, right?" The young girl walked into the room and threw a flirtatious glance at Mo Qingyun, revealing a sweet smile. "You recognize me?" Hearing the young girl's words, Mo Qingyun's expression froze, revealing a surprised expression. "Mr. Mo, you are the #1 genius of Dian Province since the establishment of the school. Who in Flame City doesn't know of you?" "Who doesn't know of you?" The alluring young girl blinked her beautiful eyes and sweetly smiled. She walked to Mo Qingyun's side and whispered into Mo Qingyun's ear, "This little girl has also heard of your deeds in Mystic Ice Palace. I really admire you." Hearing the young girl's words, Mo Qingyun's expression froze. With a somewhat cold tone, he said, "Miss, it seems that your Burning Sky Hall has placed quite a few spies in Mystic Ice Palace." In that case, Mr. Mo should have guessed my identity." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the alluring young girl covered her mouth and charmingly said, "Mr. Mo, with your talent, you will have a better future if you join my Burning Sky Hall. Are you interested in joining my Burning Sky Hall? At that time, we can live together." Hearing the alluring young girl's words, Long Hanyun's expression immediately changed, revealing a trace of vigilance. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun's expression became colder. He said with some displeasure, "Miss, if you came here just to talk about these things, then I can only take my leave." "Big Brother Yun, don't be angry." Hearing Mo Qingyun's cold words, the alluring young girl revealed a coquettish expression and said, "Of course we want your things. Don't tell me you're not willing to talk to me a bit more?" After saying this coquettishly, the enchanting young woman said to Elder Xiao, "Elder Xiao, go get a gold VIP token for young Master Mo." "Yes, miss," Elder Xiao responded. He took out a gold flame token and handed it to Mo Qingyun, saying, "Young Master, this is our Burning Sky Auction House's gold VIP token. With this token, you can enjoy a 10% discount on all purchases in the Burning Sky Auction House." 10% discount. Hearing Elder Zhao's words, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled and said, "That's not bad. Since that's the case, I'll accept it." Seeing Mo Qingyun accept the VIP token, the alluring young girl revealed a somewhat serious expression. She said to Mo Qingyun, "Big Brother Yun, you have quite a lot of items. I need some time to calculate them. If you trust us, you can go to the auction house first. After we've calculated the results, we'll send someone to inform you. How about it?" "Okay." Mo Qingyun's expression was solemn as he nodded. He responded to the alluring young girl and looked at Long Hanyan, saying, "Hanyan, let's go to the auction house." And Long Hanyan obediently nodded her head and walked out of the room with Mo Qingyun. She lifted her foot and walked towards the auction house. Chapter 409. Hearing Duanmu Wan Er's words, Mo Qingyun paused for a moment, but he didn't respond. Inside the appraisal room, seeing Mo Qingyun walk away, Elder Xiao looked at Duanmu Wan with a puzzled expression and asked, "Miss, although this young master has a large number of items, they are all ordinary items. It doesn't seem worth it for us to take all of them, does it?" "Elder Xiao, you've made a mistake this time." Hearing Elder Zhao's puzzled words, Duanmu Wan'er smiled slyly and said, "Compared to the value of these items, his favorable impression is the most valuable. Hearing Duanmu Wan-er's words, the puzzled expression on Elder Zhao's face became even more intense. The favorable impression of a Yuan Dan Stage Jr. was actually so valuable? Seeing Elder Zhao's puzzled expression, Duanmu Wan-er smiled faintly and didn't explain to him. Instead, she looked at Emo Qingyun's back and smiled. He's actually unmoved by my beauty. What an interesting fellow. After leaving the appraisal room, Emo Qingyun and Long Hanyan walked together towards the auction house. A moment later, Emo Qingyun and Duanmu Wan-er arrived at the auction house. After arriving at the auction house, Emo Qingyun showed the golden VIP token that Duanmu Wan-er had given him. Seeing Emo Qingyun's VIP token, the auction house's receptionist immediately revealed a look of reverence. Following which, Emo Qingyun was led by the receptionist into VIP room number 9. When Emo Qingyun and Duanmu Wan-er entered the VIP room, the auction had already begun. A piece of cyan armor was brought to the auction stage. This was an armor inlaid with crystals. These crystals formed a small array formation with each other. Seeing the armor being brought to the auction stage, the auctioneer immediately smiled and pointed at the armor. Ladies and gentlemen, this auction item is called the Luan Phoenix Raincoat. It is embedded with 99 wind profound spirit crystals and inscribed with a levitation spiritual array. After wearing this Luan Phoenix Raincoat, you will be able to soar in the sky like a wild goose. As soon as the auctioneer finished speaking, the auction house went into an uproar. Wearing this Luan Phoenix Raincoat allows one to fly. Doesn't this mean that with this raincoat, even Yuan Dan cultivators can fly? Wow, that's great, that's great. Young Master Chen, I want it, I want it. Can you buy this Luan Phoenix Raincoat for me? This Luan Phoenix Raincoat is not bad. I'll buy it and give it to Lien. I should be able to ride a horse with her. Cut the crap. Quickly state the starting price. This young master is determined to obtain this Luan Phoenix Raincoat. At this moment, the eyes of the hedonistic young masters in the auction house lit up. They couldn't wait any longer. Seeing everyone's reaction, the auctioneer revealed a brilliant smile. He smiled and said, "Since everyone is so impatient, I won't waste any more words. The starting price for this Luan Phoenix Raincoat is 100 million Spirit Essence Stones. Each bid must increase by at least 1 million Spirit Essence Stones." Hiss! As soon as the auctioneer finished speaking, the auction house became quiet, and the sound of people gasping could be heard. A treasure armor that only had the ability to fly actually had a starting price of 100 million Spirit Essence Stones. This was simply too expensive. Damn, this is too much. A treasure armor that only has the ability to fly is actually being sold for 100 million Spirit Essence Stones. That's right. Why don't you just rob someone? 100 million Spirit Essence Stones can buy a decent, profound weapon. I don't care if you buy it or not. In any case, I won't buy it. For a time, all sorts of dissatisfied words came out from the mouths of some people. A bunch of paupers. If you can't afford it, then don't waste your breath. Hearing the dissatisfied words of the crowd, a young man with a jade face and a golden crown coldly said. After saying these words of disdain, this young man revealed an arrogant expression. He smiled and said, "I bid 110 million Spirit Essence Stones." Wow. That's Qin Chuan, the second young master of the Yin Tong Trading Company. No wonder he's so rich. Qin Chuan is so handsome. If I could become his woman, that would be great. Since Qin Chuan has spoken, I don't want to compete with him. At this moment, as soon as this young man spoke, the surrounding people immediately revealed excited expressions and began to voice their thoughts. Within VIP room 9, Emo Qingyun looked at the Luan Phoenix Raincoat on the auction stage. He faintly smiled and said, "This Luan Phoenix Raincoat is pretty good. It's worth bidding for 120 million Spirit Essence Stones." After saying this with a faint smile, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and opened his mouth to make a bid. Hearing Mo Qingyun bid, Qin Chuan's expression changed. He turned to look at VIP room 9. He was a bit surprised. After everyone knew his identity, there was still someone who dared to compete with him. After a brief moment of surprise, Qin Chuan revealed a faint smile. He looked towards Mo Qingyun and said, "Friend, the value of this Luan Phoenix raincoat is 120 million yuan spirit stones, not 12 million yuan spirit stones. Are you sure you didn't hear wrong?" Hearing Qin Chuan's words, Mo Qingyun was stunned. He was a bit surprised by Qin Chuan's words. According to Qin Chuan's words, besides him, there was no one else in this world that could take out 120 million spirit essence stones. As Mo Qingyun was stunned, Qin Chuan smiled and said, "This young lord has saved you this time. Next time, don't be so impulsive. Otherwise, you'll suffer because you want to save face." Qin Chuan's tone was arrogant. After lecturing Mo Qingyun, he bid again, 130 million spirit essence stones. Hearing Qin Chuan's words, Mo Qingyun immediately smiled. This fellow really thought he was infallible. I appreciate your good intentions, but I can still take out several 100 million spirit essence stones. Mo Qingyun faintly smiled. He didn't speak any further. Instead, he bid once more, 150 million spirit essence stones. The person in VIP room 9 is so rich. He added 20 million spirit essence stones in one go. Does he plan on competing with Qin Chuan? Competing with Qin Chuan? Isn't he just asking to be humiliated? In this Flame City, is there anyone richer than the Qin family? For a time, everyone was curious about the competition between Mo Qingyun and Qin Chuan. "You want to compete with me?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Qin Chuan smiled. He playfully said, "If that's the case, then this young master will play with you a little. I hope you don't act too cowardly." 200 million spirit essence stones, Qin Chuan calmly said. 300 million spirit essence stones. Mo Qingyun bid again, his tone just as indifferent. "I didn't think you would have some capital," Qin Chuan taunted. Then, he bid, 500 million spirit essence stones. 1 billion spirit essence stones. Mo Qingyun lightly said, 1 billion spirit essence stones. As soon as Mo Qingyun's words left his mouth, the auction hall suddenly fell silent. Everyone looked towards VIP room 9 with shock. To increase the price by 500 million spirit essence stones, this action was far too fierce. Hearing Mo Qingyun's bid, the previously arrogant Qin Chuan immediately shut his mouth. 1 billion spirit essence stones had already surpassed his bottom line. Although he was a direct descendant of the Qin family, as a hedonistic young master, the amount of money he could use was limited. Seeing Qin Chuan no longer bid, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile. He said to Qin Chuan, "Young Master Qin Chuan, are you satisfied with my performance?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Qin Chuan was immediately enraged. He glared at VIP room 9, no longer speaking. Chapter 410. After Qin Chuan withdrew from the competition, Missouri Qingyun won the Luan Phoenix raincoat with a price of 1 billion spirit essence stones. Seeing the Luan Phoenix raincoat being won by Mo Qingyun, everyone in the auction house sighed in their hearts. Even the second young master of the Yin Tong Trading Company, Qin Chuan, wasn't able to compete with Mo Qingyun. This situation was too unexpected. Who is the person in VIP room 9? He's so rich that even Qin Chuan isn't his match. He should be a direct descendant of some large family. In Yen capital, the only people who have more wealth than Qin Chuan are those people. That's true. After all, Qin Chuan is only a playboy. If it was his big brother Qin Hao, then the result might have been different. At this moment, everyone was curious about Mo Qingyun's identity. Just as the crowd was feeling curious, another auction item was placed on the auction stage. Seeing another auction item being brought onto the stage, everyone's attention shifted from Mo Qingyun to the auction item. This auction item was a top-grade profound-grade nether iron scarlet gold saber. The starting price was 30 million spirit essence stones. Mo Qingyun wasn't interested in this sort of thing. After a simple glance, Mo Qingyun shifted his gaze away from the nether iron scarlet gold saber. However, although Mo Qingyun wasn't paying attention, there were some small family clans in the auction house that coveted the nether iron scarlet gold saber. At this moment, while everyone was competing for the nether iron scarlet flame saber, the Luan Phoenix raincoat was brought to Mo Qingyun's room. Seeing the Luan Phoenix raincoat being brought in, Mo Qingyun took out 1 billion spirit essence stones to pay for the Luan Phoenix raincoat. Try it on. After receiving the Luan Phoenix raincoat, Mo Qingyun smiled and placed it in Long Hanyan's hands. You're giving it to me? Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Long Hanyan blushed and revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Then, Long Hanyan put on the Luan Feng raincoat shyly. Once she put on the Luan Phoenix raincoat, Long Hanyan immediately became like a colorful phoenix. Her colorful wings fluttered, and she was incomparably agile. Very nice. Looking at Long Hanyan, who was wearing the raincoat, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile and praised Long Hanyan. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long Hanyan revealed a sweet smile, her heart filled with joy. After that, Mo Qingyun and Long Hanyan chatted and laughed as they looked at the auction items. As time went by, one item after another was auctioned off by the auctioneers. As the items were auctioned off one by one, the atmosphere in the auction house reached its peak. At this time, a high-grade mysterious grade flood dragon scale armor was won by a large blue-faced man for 400 million spirit essence stones. As this flood dragon scale armor was auctioned off, another item was brought up. This was a tea set made from dragon blood purple jade. Grandfather usually loves to drink tea. If we give this dragon blood purple jade tea set to him, he should be very happy. As soon as Long Hanyan saw the dragon blood purple jade tea set on the auction stage, her eyes immediately brightened and she spoke in pleasant surprise. Since it's like this, let's bid for this dragon blood purple jade tea set. 190 million spirit essence stones. Hearing Long Hanyan's words, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile and opened his mouth to bid once more. As Mo Qingyun opened his mouth to bid, the expressions of everyone in the auction house immediately changed. They all looked towards VIP room number 9. During this time, Mo Qingyun, who hadn't made a move at all, actually bid once more. It seemed that Mo Qingyun was very interested in the dragon blood purple jade tea set. At this moment, everyone's hearts were filled with anticipation towards Mo Qingyun. 200 million. Seeing Mo Qingyun bid once more, Qin Chuan, who had lost to Mo Qingyun before, gloomily bid. From his actions, it seemed that he planned to compete with Mo Qingyun for the dragon blood purple jade tea set once more. After bidding, Qin Chuan revealed a dark smile. He said to himself, "Humph. This young master doesn't believe that you still have 1 billion spirit essence stones on you." As Qin Chuan was deep in thought, the surrounding people revealed looks of surprise once more. They unconsciously looked towards Qin Chuan. Qin Chuan and Mo Qingyun were once again at odds. Who would win this time? Everyone's faces were filled with curiosity. They looked forward to the result of the competition between Mo Qingyun and Qin Chuan. There's going to be a good show. Qin Chuan and the person in VIP room number 9 are at odds again. I wonder who will win this time? Qin Chuan's chances of winning should be higher. After all, the person in VIP room number 9 has already spent 1 billion spirit essence stones. I don't think so. Don't forget, those who can stay in VIP rooms aren't simple existences. Those words aren't false. The people in the other VIP rooms haven't bid yet. They should be here for the finale item. For a time, everyone was whispering amongst themselves. As everyone was whispering, Mo Qingyun indifferently looked at Qin Chuan. He calmly said, 300 million spirit essence stones. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Qin Chuan's complexion darkened. He clenched his teeth and said, 500 million spirit essence stones. 1 billion spirit essence stones. Just as Qin Chuan's words fell, Mo Qingyun followed suit with an indifferent expression. 1 billion spirit essence stones. As Mo Qingyun's words fell, Qin Chuan felt as if his heart had been struck by a hammer. His face unconsciously twitched. Mo Qingyun had bid another billion spirit essence stones. This had once again surpassed his limit, making it impossible for him to continue bidding. In a single day, he had actually lost to Mo Qingyun twice in a row in the bidding process. To Qin Chuan, this was a great humiliation. It was something that he could not accept no matter what. Sir Qin, do you want to continue bidding? At this time, as Qin Chuan was fuming with anger, the auctioneer smiled and asked Qin Chuan a question. Hearing the auctioneer's words, Qin Chuan's face twitched. His complexion became even uglier. He coldly said, "Auctioneer, I would like to ask you something. During the bidding process, if someone bids a price and then can't produce the corresponding amount of spirit essence stones, what will happen?" Hearing Qin Chuan's words, the auctioneer's complexion became serious. He indifferently said, "If that is the case, then he will have to compensate our auction house for all losses. If he is unable to do so, then we can only use our own methods to punish him." As he spoke to hear, the auctioneer's body emitted a cold aura, causing everyone to involuntarily revere him. This ordinary-looking auctioneer was actually a Heaven Dipper second-stage powerhouse. This scene was truly unexpected. Very good. Hearing the auctioneer's words, Qin Chuan's complexion became even more gloomy. He pointed to VIP Room 9 and sneered, "Now I suspect that the person in VIP Room 9 doesn't have the ability to pay for the Dragon Blood Purple Jade tea set. Auctioneer, I hope you can investigate." As soon as Qin Chuan's words left his mouth, everyone's expression changed. They were somewhat shocked by Qin Chuan's words. Soon after, everyone revealed looks of anticipation. They all looked towards the auctioneer, waiting for the auction house to handle this. Chapter 411. Soon, the auctioneer arrived at VIP Room 9. He wanted to verify whether or not Mo Qingyun had enough elemental holy stones. Just as the auctioneer was about to enter Mo Qingyun's room, the enchanting Duanmu Wan walked over with a faint smile on her face. Li Chenghua greets Miss Wan. Seeing Duanmu Wan approach, the auctioneer's expression became respectful, and he bowed to her. No need for formalities. Duanmu Wan waved her hand at the auctioneer's actions. She asked with a puzzled expression, "Li Chenghua, what are you doing here in Mr. Mo's room instead of hosting the auction downstairs?" Miss Wan just now, the second young master of the Yintong Trading Company, suspected that young Master Huang's financial resources couldn't support the item he just bid on. "So, I came to verify it." Li Chenghua bowed slightly and reported truthfully to Duanmu Wan. "Checking Mo Qingyun's financial resources?" Duanmu Wan's expression froze when she heard Li Chenghua's words. She didn't expect this. After a brief moment of shock, Duanmu Wan asked curiously, "Did someone suspect that Mr. Mo didn't have enough elemental holy stones to bid on something? Just now, Mr. Mo competed with young Master Qin Chuan for a Dragon Blood Purple Jade tea set. He bid 1 billion elemental holy stones. Young Master Qin Chuan suspected that he couldn't pay enough," Li Chenghua said. 1 billion elemental holy stones? Hearing the auctioneer's words, Duanmu Wan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She didn't know what to say. The reason she came to look for Mo Qingyun was to hand over the 30 billion spirit essence stones that Mo Qingyun had just obtained from selling the items. She didn't expect that Mo Qingyun's financial resources would be doubted because of 1 billion elemental holy stones. Duanmu Wan didn't know whether to laugh or cry at this result. Miss Wan could it be that Mr. Mo really can't pay the elemental holy stones? Seeing Duanmu Wan's expression, Li Chenghua's expression immediately changed. He probed Duanmu Wan. He really can't pay? The bitter smile on Duanmu Wan's face immediately deepened. She waved her hand at Li Chenghua and said, "You can leave now. There's no need to doubt Mr. Mo's wealth." But Yin Tong Trading Company's second young master, seeing Duanmu Wan's actions, Li Chenghua revealed an awkward expression. He looked at Duanmu Wan with a pleading expression. Hearing Li Chenghua's words, Duanmu Wan opened the Qinkuan bag in her hands. She said to Li Chenghua, "There are over 30 billion spirit essence stones in here. They were obtained from Mr. Mo's sale of items. It's best that you keep this to yourself. After you leave, don't speak of it to anyone else. 30 billion spirit essence stones." Looking at the mountain of spirit essence stones in the universe bag, Li Chenghua's heart immediately trembled. He was filled with awe towards Mo Qingyun. Although Li Chenghua was a heavenly dipper powerhouse, it was impossible for him to take out over 30 billion spirit essence stones all at once. This subordinate will take his leave. Immediately after, Li Chenghua no longer hesitated and turned to return to the auction stage. At this moment, Li Chenghua rejoiced in his heart. He sighed inwardly. It was a good thing that Duanmu Wan had arrived early. Otherwise, if he had entered Mo Qingyun's room and questioned Mo Qingyun's financial resources, he would have provoked Mo Qingyun's displeasure. If that was the case, one could easily imagine what would happen to him. It would definitely not be good. Just think about it. The second young master of a banking company, who couldn't even take out 1 billion spirit essence stones, wasn't someone he could afford to provoke. Now, he had gone to provoke someone who could take out 30 billion spirit essence stones. To put it bluntly, he was seeking death. Thinking of this, Li Chenghua's back unconsciously broke out in a cold sweat. Thank goodness Miss Wan arrived in time. Li Chenghua revealed a look of fear. He rejoiced in his heart and took deep breath. A moment later, Li Chenghua returned to the auction stage. Seeing Li Chenghua return, Qin Chuan revealed a smug sneer. He asked Li Chenghua, "Auctioneer, that boy doesn't have 1 billion spirit essence stones on him, right?" "Not 1 billion?" Hearing Qin Chuan's words, Li Chenghua immediately revealed an expression as if he was looking at an idiot. He looked at Qin Chuan with disdain and said, "Young Master Qin Chuan, that Mr. Mo has far more spirit essence stones than 1 billion spirit essence stones. Therefore, you don't need to doubt this point." How is this possible? How can an unknown boy have such wealth?" Hearing Li Chenghua's reply, Qin Chuan's face immediately revealed a crazed look as he uttered words that were difficult to accept. After uttering these words, Qin Chuan's face darkened. He pointed at Li Chenghua and said, "Yes. Your auction house must be covering for him and deliberately hiding the number of spirit essence stones he has." When he heard Qin Chuan's words, Li Chenghua's gaze was filled with mockery. This Qin Chuan was really an idiot for thinking this way. Looking at Qin Chuan with disdain, Li Chenghua revealed a displeased expression and said, "Young Master Qin Chuan, please mind your words. If you continue to speak like this, I will have to order someone to kick you out of the auction house." Hearing Li Chenghua's words, Qin Chuan's face revealed a look of reverence. He did not dare to continue speaking. Seeing Qin Chuan shut his mouth, Li Chenghua's expression turned for the better. He coldly asked, "Young Master Qin Chuan, do you still want to continue raising the price? If you don't continue to raise the price, this dragon blood purple jade tea set will be Mr. Mo's." Hearing Li Chenghua's words, Qin Chuan's face immediately flushed red. He gritted his teeth and said, "I won't raise the price." Seeing that Qin Chuan had given up, Li Chenghua's expression turned solemn as he said in a low voice, "If that's the case, This Dragon Blood Purple Jade tea set will go to Mr. Mo in VIP room number 9. At this moment, after Li Chenghua's words, the expressions of the people in the auction house immediately became complicated. They did not expect this to be the outcome. The second young master of the Yin Tong Trading Company, Qin Chuan, had actually lost to the person in VIP room number 9 twice in a row in a competition of wealth. At this moment, while everyone was sighing in their hearts, Duanmu Wan-er walked into VIP room number 9. Duanmu Wan-er walked into VIP room number 9 with a charming smile on her face. She smiled sweetly at Mo Qingyun and said, "Mr. Mo, here are 32 billion elemental spirit stones. That's the value of the items you just sold. You can count them." As soon as Duanmu Wan-er finished speaking, she tossed the heaven-earth pouch in her hands to Mo Qingyun. "Thank you for your trouble, Miss Duanmu." Mo Qingyun took the heaven-earth pouch from Duanmu Wan-er's hands and scanned it briefly before putting it away. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun put away the heaven-earth pouch, the Dragon Blood Purple Jade tea set was brought up. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun took out the heaven-earth pouch and paid for the Dragon Blood Purple Jade tea set. Soon after, Mo Qingyun did not plan to stay any longer. He said to Long Hanyan, "Hanyan, let's go." Seeing that Mo Qingyun was about to leave, Duanmu Wan-er smiled sweetly and said, "Mr. Mo, that's the final item. Don't you want to take a look before you leave?" Thump thump thump. At this moment, just as Duanmu Wan-er finished speaking, Mo Qingyun's eyes began to twitch rapidly. Chapter 412. After this discovery, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately changed. He looked at the auction stage with a serious expression. He saw that a giant purple palm had been brought onto the auction stage. Sensing the purple palm, Mo Qingyun discovered that there was an obscure aura emanating from it. It seemed powerful, but it also seemed ordinary. It gave people a very mysterious feeling. Of course, what shocked Mo Qingyun the most was that the purple palm gave him a familiar and intimate feeling. Could this palm be? After this discovery, Mo Qingyun's expression changed. He guessed the origin of this giant purple palm. This is the previous owner's torso, the arm. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was guessing the origin of the giant purple palm, the 9 temples in the Soul Palace said to Mo Qingyun in an excited tone, "Young lord, you must get this arm. If you refine this arm, your Tianhun bloodline will definitely become even purer." Mr. Mo, this mysterious palm was obtained by an expert in a mysterious space. It is said to be the torso of an expert from the outside world. If you can refine it, the benefits will be endless. When the 9 temples transmitted to Mo Qingyun, Duanmu Wan-er smiled faintly and said to Mo Qingyun. Hearing Duanmu Wan-er's words, Mo Qingyun nodded with an indifferent expression. Then, Mo Qingyun pulled Long Hanyan back to their seats and sat down. Seeing Mo Qingyun sit down, Long Hanyan didn't say much. She quietly sat down beside him and looked curiously at the giant purple palm. While Mo Qingyun and Duanmu Wan-er were sizing up the giant purple palm, the auctioneer Li Chenghua began to flatter the origin of the giant purple palm. I'm sure everyone is curious about the origin of this giant purple palm. At this point, Li Chenghua paused to whet everyone's appetite. He continued, "This giant purple palm was obtained by an expert from the continent in a mysterious space in the continent turbulence. It is said to be the torso of an expert from the outside world. At this point, everyone should understand the value of this giant purple palm. It's the torso of an expert from the outside world. No wonder this giant purple palm is so mysterious. It's just that the cultivation of an expert from the outside world is different from ours. Even if we get his palm, we can't refine it." "That's true. In that case, even if we get this giant purple palm, it can only be a collector's item." Looking at everyone's expression, they didn't seem interested in the giant purple palm. Seeing this scene, Li Chenghua's expression changed slightly. After thinking for a while, he said, "Everyone, do you remember how the Iron-Foot Demon King became famous more than 700 years ago?" As soon as Li Chenghua's words came out, everyone's expression changed greatly. Each and every one of them became extremely excited. The Iron-Foot Demon King. It's said that his left foot is incomparably hard. Even a top-grade spirit artifact can't harm it. The Iron-Foot Demon King doesn't cultivate origin energy. He only refines his left foot so that his strength can contend with a transcendent realm powerhouse. This was widely spread by others. Could the origin of this giant purple palm be related to the Iron-Foot Demon King's foot? At this moment, everyone's curiosity was piqued by Li Chenghua's words. Seeing this, Li Chenghua's face lit up with joy. He had achieved the effect he wanted. Seeing this, Li Chenghua struck while the iron was hot. He lightly smiled and said, "Since it's like this, I won't waste any more words. The starting bid for this giant purple palm is 1 billion spirit essence stones. Each bid must be no less than 100 million spirit essence stones." What? A starting bid of 1 billion spirit essence stones? Isn't that too expensive? Hearing Li Chenghua's bid, some people in the auction house immediately voiced their dissatisfaction. Hearing this person's words, Li Chenghua faintly smiled and responded, "Everyone, think about it. If you were to obtain this palm and become the future Iron-Foot Demon King, would you still think that 1 billion spirit essence stones is expensive?" As Li Chenghua spoke, everyone fell silent. Each of them had their own ulterior motives as they pondered over Li Chenghua's words. Li Chenghua's words weren't false. Spending a few billion spirit essence stones to become an existence like the Iron-Foot Demon King was absolutely worth it. After a brief moment of silence, someone broke the silence. "Auctioneer, if this palm is only in appearance and can't help us become an existence like the Iron-Foot Demon King, then wouldn't we suffer a great loss if we bought it?" "That's right. If I'm not wrong, then before this palm was auctioned off, someone must have studied it for a long time. If they weren't able to figure out its origin or use, then they would have taken it out for auction. If so, then its value would be up for debate," another person said. Hearing these two people's words of concern, Li Chenghua still had a faint smile on his face. He said, "Everyone, let me ask you something. If there really was a 100% certainty that it could allow someone to become an existence like the Iron-Foot Demon King, then do you think that this giant purple palm would be put up for auction?" As Li Chenghua's words fell, the auction house fell silent once more. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They couldn't refute Li Chenghua's words. If this were true, then it really wouldn't have been put up for auction. Seeing everyone fall silent, Li Chenghua faintly smiled. He said, "Everyone, to spend a mere billion spirit essence stones to buy a chance to become an existence like Iron-Foot Demon King, this investment is well worth it. This sort of opportunity is also extremely rare. That's right, you can't trap a wolf without risking a child. I bid 1 billion spirit essence stones." Hearing Li Chenghua's words, someone immediately began to bid. "I bid 1 billion. I bid 2 billion. Following that, one person started to bid, and the people behind him also started to bid endlessly. Before long, the price of this giant purple palm had risen to over 5 billion spirit essence stones. At this time, the speed at which the giant purple palm's price rose also began to slow down. At this time, as everyone was waiting for the next person to bid, the person in VIP room 3 said in a low voice, 6 billion spirit essence stones. As soon as the words left his mouth, the auction hall fell silent. A sudden increase of several 100 million spirit essence stones was already beyond the scope of what some ordinary families could bear. "Leng Wuyao, I didn't think that you would personally come." At this time, as everyone was shocked by the person in VIP room 3's bid, the person in VIP room 1 smiled and said, "This is also good. Otherwise, this auction will be too boring." As this person's words fell, he smiled and said, 7 billion spirit essence stones. 7 billion spirit essence stones. A sudden increase of 1 billion spirit essence stones. The auction house was shocked by this scene. Of course, what shocked everyone even more was the identity of the person in VIP room 3. Ling Wuyao, the current head of the Ling family. They didn't think that the person in VIP room 3 was actually the head of the Ling family. Yi Jingtian, with your Yi family's relationship with the Burning Sky Hall, you actually came to participate in this auction. Hearing the words of the person in VIP room 1, Ling Wuyao sneered and said, 8 billion spirit essence stones. The Yi family and the Lung family are both here. That means that the people in the other VIP rooms should be from the various large families of Flame Capital. Chapter 413. 10 billion elemental spirit stones. As soon as Mo Qingyun's words came out, the entire auction house fell silent. At this moment, everyone's hearts were filled with shock. They couldn't believe that this was true. Just now, the person in VIP room 9 was suspected by Qin Chuan of not even being able to take out 1 billion elemental spirit stones. Now, he had actually bid 10 billion. This scene was too shocking. It was beyond everyone's expectations. Of course, while everyone was shocked, they were also filled with disdain towards Qin Chuan. Didn't you suspect that he couldn't even take out 1 billion elemental spirit stones? Now, he had bid 10 billion elemental spirit stones. Moreover, this was after being verified by the auctioneer. This meant that the person in VIP room 9 did indeed have the wealth of 10 billion elemental spirit stones. Such an outcome was truly ironic. How is this possible? How could he have such wealth? Hearing Mo Qingyun's bid, Qin Chuan's face immediately turned ugly. He couldn't believe this was true. A nameless brat actually had such wealth. This result was hard for him to accept. Why does the voice in VIP room number 9 sound so familiar? In VIP room 1, Yi Jinglei heard Mo Qingyun's words and was stunned for a moment. Then, he smiled and said, so it's that little fellow. If I'm not wrong, then the elemental spirit stones on him should be the Lu family's many years of savings. In Yi Jinglei's opinion, if Mo Qingyun could take out 10 billion elemental spirit stones, then he should have looted the Lu family. Second brother, the little fellow you're talking about, could it be Mo Qingyun? Yi Jingtian asked in surprise. Yi Jinglei nodded. In VIP room 3. Mo Qingyun actually has such wealth. Ling Hui heard Mo Qingyun's words and immediately spat out these gloomy words. Oh, that brat is Mo Qingyun. Hearing Ling Hui's words, Ling Wuyao was slightly stunned. Soon after, he sneered and said, if I'm not mistaken, that kid's elemental holy rock should be from the Lu family. This amount of elemental holy rock is not enough to compete with us. The brat in VIP room number 9, to be able to make Kai Chuan or suffer a loss just now, you do indeed have some wealth. In VIP room number 2, several elders were shocked when they heard Mo Qingyun's bid. As for the people in the other VIP rooms, they had similar thoughts at this moment. After a short period of silence in the auction house, the people in VIP room 2 were the first to break the silence. An old man said in a deep voice, 11 billion, 12 billion. Ling Wuyao said coldly after they entered the second VIP room. 13 billion. Yi Jingtian smiled faintly and started to bid. 13, 1 billion. 13, 2 billion. 13, 5 billion. At this time, the people in the other VIP rooms also started bidding. Following that, the people in the various VIP rooms began to crazily bid. Under the frenzied bidding, the price of the giant purple palm rose rapidly. 30 billion. Around 15 minutes later, an indifferent voice entered the ears of the crowd. The person who bid 30 billion was none other than Mo Qingyun, who was in VIP room 9. 30 billion. Raising the price by 5 billion. Hearing Mo Qingyun's bid, the auction house fell silent instantly. At this moment, everyone was shocked by Mo Qingyun's actions. 30 billion. Mo Qingyun actually bid 30 billion. Hearing Mo Qingyun's bid and thinking of Qin Chuan's actions, the people in the auction house despised Qin Chuan even more. 30 billion. Hearing the bid of 30 billion, Qin Chuan's expression immediately twitched. He was really shocked. It's already 30 billion. Hearing Mo Qingyun's bid, Yi Jingtian was shocked and said, with the Lu family's wealth, 10 billion should be their limit. Did they miss something? At this moment, Yi Jingtian's heart was filled with confusion. Mo Qingyun's performance had completely exceeded his expectations. After a short moment of shock, Yi Jingtian smiled faintly and continued to bid, 31 billion. 30 billion? Where did this kid come from? How could he have such wealth? Ling Wuya's face turned gloomy. He frowned and said to himself, I underestimated this kid. However, 30 billion elemental spirit stones is still not enough to win against the Lung family. After saying that, Ling Wuya didn't hesitate and immediately bid, 31.5 billion. That kid actually bid 30 billion. I didn't expect there to be such a competitor in this competition. The person in the second VIP room came out with a gloomy face. He gritted his teeth and said, if they want to compete with our Yin Tong Trading Company in terms of wealth, even the Lung family and Yi family will not be able to do so. Also, our Qin family must obtain this purple giant palm. This is the best opportunity for our Qin family to become the sixth power in Yen capital. After saying those words coldly, the person in VIP room 2 also made a bid, 32 billion. As for the people in the other VIP rooms, because they didn't have enough wealth, they had already withdrawn from the competition. Next, Mo Qingyun and the rest madly raised the price again, competing with each other for the giant purple palm. After a while, the price of the giant purple palm had been raised to 45 billion. At this moment, the range of Mo Qingyun and the rest's bids had decreased. They were only increasing by 100 million. It seemed like this price was reaching everyone's limit. I only have 50 billion on me. If this continues, I might not be able to get the giant purple palm. Looking at the constantly increasing price, Mo Qingyun frowned. He was a little worried that he didn't have enough elemental holy rock. After thinking for a while, Mo Qingyun's face became serious. He looked at Duanmu Wan and said, Miss Duanmu, if I don't have enough elemental holy rock on me later, can I give you some items? You can pay me a portion of the elemental holy rock first. If it was someone else, I wouldn't be able to do that. It's too unfair to others. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Duanmu Wan's eyebrows twitched as she spoke in a difficult tone. She then smiled tenderly and said, however, if it's you, Big Brother Yun, then it's completely different. If Big Brother Yun wants to fight for this giant purple palm, then this little sister will naturally do her best to help you. Thank you. Hearing Duanmu Wan's words, Mo Qingyun revealed a grateful expression and thanked her. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun asked Duanmu Wan, Yi Jingtian laughed loudly and said to Mo Qingyun, Haha, little friend Mo, since you're determined to get this purple palm, I won't fight with you. Thank you, King Yen. Hearing Yi Jingtian's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and thanked Yi Jingtian. Calling me King Yen is too formal. You and Wu Yu are good friends. Just call me Uncle Yi. Yi Jingtian laughed heartily in response to Mo Qingyun's words. He had misspoken. Many thanks, Uncle Yi. Mo Qingyun chuckled when he heard this. Kid, it's too early for you to be happy. Do you think you can get the giant purple palm without Yi Jingtian's competition? Chapter 4:14. 46 billion. Ling Wuya didn't hesitate any longer. He called out his bid once more. 46.5 billion. After Ling Wuya called out his bid, The Qin family members in the second VIP room also called out their bid. 47 billion. Emo Qingyun ignored Ling Wuya's words and called out his bid once more. Then, Emo Qingyun, the Ling family, and the Qin family all called out their bid. As Emo Qingyun and the others continued to raise the bid, the price of the giant purple palm began to rise once more. Before long, the price of the giant purple palm broke through the 50 billion mark. 50 billion spirit essence stones. Seeing the price of the giant purple palm reach 50 billion, everyone in the auction house was shocked. This price was enough to frighten many people. At this time, as everyone was shocked by the price of 50 billion, within the 9th VIP room, Emo Qingyun took out a pile of water profound ores and smiled at Duanmu Wan. Miss Wan here are 100,000 pieces of water profound ores. They are worth around 100 billion spirit essence stones. I ask Miss Wan to give me 100 billion spirit essence stones in advance. 100,000 pieces of water profound ores. Seeing the mountain of water profound ores, Duanmu Wan was shocked. She was shocked by Emo Qingyun's actions. She didn't think that Emo Qingyun would really take out something to give her an advance of spirit essence stones. Moreover, the items that Emo Qingyun took out were extremely rare profound ores. Looking at the mountain of profound ores, Duanmu Wan couldn't help but admit that she was shocked by Emo Qingyun's actions. After a brief moment of shock, Duanmu Wan smiled. She took out a universe bag and handed it to Emo Qingyun. Big brother Yun, here are 10 million core essence crystals. That is equivalent to 100 billion spirit essence stones. Please check. Thank you. Taking the Qiankuan pouch from Duanmu Wan, Emo Qingyun smiled and thanked her. With this 100 billion spirit essence stones, he would have more confidence in competing for the giant purple palm. 53 billion spirit essence stones. 53. 2 billion spirit essence stones. While Emo Qingyun was exchanging for core essence crystals, the people from the Lung family and the Qin family were still bidding against each other. However, the two families seemed to have reached a consensus and slowed down their bidding. Looking at their appearance, it seemed that they were stalling for time, taking advantage of this time to gather spirit essence stones. It seems like the Lung family and the Qin family have reached a limit in terms of the amount of elemental holy stones they have. Seeing the actions of the Ling family and Qin family, Emo Qingyun faintly smiled. He pondered for a moment and then bid once more, 60 billion spirit essence stones. As soon as Emo Qingyun spoke, the people from the Lung family and the Qin family immediately fell silent. They didn't make any offers for a long time. Inside VIP Room 3. How could this be? How could this boy have so many spirit essence stones on him? Hearing Emo Qingyun's bid, Ling Wuya's complexion darkened. He coldly said, "Could it be that this boy's identity isn't as simple as it seems? Otherwise, with his background as a small kingdom's family, even if he plundered the Lu family's wealth, it would still be impossible for him to have so many spirit essence stones." At this moment, a strong sense of confusion rose up in Ling Wuya's heart. Hearing Ling Wuya's words, Ling Wanhai's complexion darkened. He said, "Patriarch, with my Ling family's financial resources, if we bid with everything we have, it won't be difficult to obtain this giant purple palm. I don't believe that boy's financial resources surpass our Ling family's. No need." Hearing Ling Wanhai's words, Ling Wuya's complexion darkened. He lifted a hand to stop Ling Wanhai and said, "From the current situation, if we want to obtain this giant purple palm, we need at least 100 billion spirit essence stones. But we don't know what this giant purple palm is for. Using 100 billion spirit essence stones to gamble on the unknown isn't worth it." "Yes." Hearing Ling Wuya's words, Ling Wanhai immediately nodded, no longer saying anything. In VIP Room 3, the other Ling family members all nodded in agreement as they heard Ling Wuya's words. Now, as the Ling family withdrew from the competition, The Lung family in VIP room 2 continued to bid. 65 billion. 61 billion. After the Qin clan's people bid, Mo Qingyun followed suit. 61.5 billion. 62 billion. Mo Qingyun and the Qin family continued to bid, continuing to compete for this giant purple palm. Between the two sides, the price of the giant purple palm finally broke through 100 billion spirit essence stones. 100 billion spirit essence stones. As this bid of 100 billion spirit essence stones sounded out from VIP room 9, everyone in the auction house was shocked. They never thought that the person in VIP room 9 would be wealthy to such a degree. The more everyone was shocked by Mo Qingyun's wealth, the more disdain they felt towards Qin Chuan. Qin Chuan actually doubted that someone who could take out 100 billion spirit essence stones wouldn't be able to pay 1 billion spirit essence stones. This was just too ridiculous. How is this possible? How could this brat be so rich? At this moment, Qin Chuan, who was sitting in the middle of the crowd, immediately paled. At this moment, he faintly felt that he had provoked a terrifying existence. 101 billion spirit essence stones. As everyone was shocked, the Qin family members in VIP room 2 gloomily shouted out their bids. For this giant purple palm, their Qin family had prepared 100 billion spirit essence stones. They were determined to obtain this giant purple palm no matter what. They never imagined that after all the great families withdrew, someone would suddenly appear out of nowhere and ruin their original plans. When they thought of this, the members of the Qin clan in VIP room number 2 started to hate Mo Qingyun to the bone. 101 billion. After the Qin family members finished speaking, Mo Qingyun indifferently called out another number. 110 billion. As soon as they heard Mo Qingyun's bid, the Qin family members' faces began to twitch. This number had already surpassed the limits of what they could bear. In other words, in this competition, their Qin family had lost to the person in VIP room 9. They would miss out on that giant purple palm. Thinking of this, the Qin family members' faces darkened to the extreme. Soon after, an old man from VIP room 2 said in a gloomy voice, "Auctioneer, the friend in VIP room 9 doesn't seem to be from an old family of our Yen capital. I am now very suspicious of his wealth. I hope you can be our witness." Doubting Mo Qingyun's financial resources again? As soon as the people in VIP room 2 heard these words, everyone in the auction house was shocked. Then, everyone's faces were filled with curiosity. They wanted to see whether or not Mo Qingyun had 100 billion spirit essence stones. So the people of the Qin clan are all sore losers. At this moment, as everyone was waiting for the auctioneer to verify Mo Qingyun's financial resources, Mo Qingyun mocked the Qin family members. Then, Mo Qingyun didn't waste any more words. He lifted his hand and poured 10 million spirit essence crystals onto the auction stage, instantly forming a small mountain of spirit essence crystals. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.